One of the most storied road courses in all of American motorsports, historic Watkins Glen International. Yeah, fans love coming here. Decades ago, the legends of Formula One performed here. Today, it plays host to the superstars of NASCAR's Nextel Cup Series. Great crowd on hand. Couldn't ask for a better day. Let's get going. NASCAR Nextel Cup racing coming your way from Watkins Glen. Let's go down for the command.
Race fans, welcome back today's Grand Marshals, Governor Elliott Spitzer and Sergeant First Class Roy Mitchell, with the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Fire them up, gang. Go ahead and crank up. Crank them up. We're going to have Nick over here by the bus stop, and Chip is going to be over here by 10. Where is 10? Yeah, I got to start back. This one right here for the start-finish line, right before that.
There's only one section getting into the last right-hander that there's some trees, but the rest of it I can see pretty good.
That is music to a race fan's ears, the thunderous roar of stock car engines. 43 of NASCAR's finest are poised and ready. They know that it's only once each year that this sleepy little village of Watkins Glen gets to awaken to the sights and sounds of the NASCAR nation. The cars are rolling. We welcome you back to historic Watkins Glen International for NASCAR Nextel Cup action. Our in-race reporter today is chasing a NASCAR record. He's trying to become the first driver to ever win a major race on 3 different road courses in a single season. Let's visit with Juan Pablo Montoya, who starts 18th here today.
Juan Pablo Montoya, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Hold on 1 second, please. Do you copy that, Donnie?
We was not touched. We did not touch anything on the front of the car this morning. Nothing was touched. No toe change, nothing.
Oh, Rusty, I'll talk to you now, and then I'll talk to Donnie when I get to the start-finish line.
And we'll check back with you, Juan, when you get back to the start-finish line. All right, Juan, I'll tell you what. You've won at some of the world's greatest tracks. What's your biggest challenge here at Watkins Glen?
Juan Pablo Montoya trying to get organized a little bit in the cockpit there, concerned about some front-end situations in the car. Let's check in with his crew chief, Donnie Wingo, who will be making the calls here today for him.
Hey, Donnie Wingo, Andy Petrie, you got a copy?
10-4, Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Donnie, we hear about pit strategy. We know this race is going to be all about strategy. What is the right strategy to win this race?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is you got to make your last stop first, you know, to get the track position there. Not get caught out on a caution or something like that. You just got to try to work your way to that last stop and make it before everybody else does.
Okay, Donnie, we heard you talking to Juan about the car. Was he kind of worried about his steering wheel position? He was kind of wondering about the front end settings, I heard.
Yeah, 10-4. He thought we might have moved the toe around a little bit, but we didn't change anything from practice. Everything's still the same. Just wheels off a little bit.
Okay, 10-4, Donnie. You guys have a good race.
10-4, thank you.
Juan Pablo Montoya starts back in 18th position. We will have other high-definition onboard cameras today. Robbie Gordon, the car number 7, the Jim Beam Ford, starts back in 29th. Patrick Carpentier making his very first NASCAR Nextel Cup start in the Valvoline Dodge. Starts in 40th spot. Watch for him to move quickly toward the front. Jamie McMurray, the Crown Royal Ford, starts 17th. Tony Stewart, a 3-time winner here in the Home Depot Chevy, will start in 5th position. Yesterday's winner, Kevin Harvick, the Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet, starts 9th. He started 7th a year ago when he won this race. Jeff Burton, the AT&T Chevy, starts in 4th position. Already heard from Juan Pablo Montoya and his crew chief, Donnie Wingo. And Terry Labonte in the Napa Auto Parts Toyota will start back in 38th spot.
Juan Pablo, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us now?
Yeah, 10-4. We didn't change anything on the front end this morning, Juan. It's all still the same as it was yesterday. I'll make sure we didn't change anything.
Well, then something's different, just so you know, because the steering wheel was way down to the right.
10-4.
Finally, a copy.
Well, right now, Juan, we're going to check in with him later because he's obviously concerned about what's going on with the front end settings. As a driver, you've got your steering wheel on the car, and you have it clocked in a certain position. And right now, his steering position is different from yesterday. So he's concerned about it right now. We're going to let him calm down a little bit and work this out before we talk to him later on in the day, because he is our in-race reporter, but he's going to clear his mind right now and try to figure out what's going on. He's having a conversation with his crew chief right now, Donnie Wingo.
A lot of focus for Juan Pablo Montoya. Let us show you the starting grid, and because NASCAR Nextel Cup Mud Pole qualifying was ringed out on Friday, they lined them up by owner's points, which means that Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin will lead them down in row 1. Across the top of your screen, you can see where your favorite driver is starting. And while you watch that, let's check in with 4 of the best pit reporters in the business, starting with Jamie Little.
Well, thanks a lot, Doc. You know, if you asked owner Richard Childress which one of his drivers likes road course racing the least, it's Clint Boyer. Why? Because the only tracks he grew up on where he turned left and right were dirt tracks, and those were for motocross racing. So I asked him about running here today, and he said he feels like a fish out of water. But if you look back at Sonoma, at the last road course race they ran, he finished 4th, and that was his best finish all season. So he said as long as he can be conservative, take care of that equipment, be there at the end, he has no doubt they'll bring it home today. Let's go over to Dave.
Well, Jamie, another driver who's not a road course ringer by any means because he grew up racing on ovals is Jamie McMurray. And yet, what would you call a guy that finished 3rd here last year? He had the pole position at Infineon earlier this year and led 30 laps. Maybe just call him fast. Jamie McMurray is very good again this weekend at Watkins Glen. Fast in every session, and by the end of today, others may be calling him threat to win. Mike?
Well, Dave, by his own admission, Jeff Burton does not consider himself a great road course racer. In fact, his last 4 Nextel Cup races here at Watkins Glen have resulted in finishes outside the top 10. Yet, Burton has made some strides to improve. He recently tested at VIR. A week ago, he ran the race in Montreal, and yesterday, he finished 2nd in the Busch race right here in Watkins Glen. Now, Burton, of course, very much in the thick of the championship chase, but he believes today has the potential to shake things up, and some chase contenders could have some problems. Burton's advice, how to avoid those problems? Stay at the front. He rolls off 4th. Alan?
Well, Mike, ask anyone in the garage this morning who was fast in practice yesterday and who's the car to beat today. They quickly say one number, 20. Tony Stewart has won 3 of the last 5 Nextel Cup races here at Watkins Glen. His crew chief, Greg Zipadelli, told me this morning they have the fuel mileage to make this race a 2-stop race, which appears to be one of the keys to the event. And for Tony Stewart, it's going to take something very unusual to keep him from being a contender when it's time to decide this one later on this afternoon. Doc?
Thank you very much, guys. We'll break down how the strategy works. What about the fuel mileage? How do you take care of the brakes? All the things we're going to be watching for today when we come back in just a moment to Watkins Glen. Back at Watkins Glen, pace car leading the field down to the inner loop, coming for the green flag. Let's take a look at what we should be watching for here today.
Road course races always come down to pit strategy. So going to be looking for that. Kevin Harvick yesterday in the Busch race, he pits here on lap 3, and then he uses great fuel mileage to win the race, win the Busch race yesterday. And then the car gets abused more on road course than anywhere we go.
You talk about gears and brakes next. Take a look at Kurt Busch getting in here. He wheel hops to rear end, slides around the corner there, and he misses a couple cars. They pass him, and I'll tell you what, that move right there cost him the win.
And Robbie Gordon was running 6th, and he breaks his transmission right here on lap 51 restart, and he finished 36th. And keep it on the asphalt. Please, please, driver, keep it on the asphalt.
Oh, man, yesterday, Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows, they get into turn 10. They get at each other and looking to back it into the gravel trap. And when you're there, you're stuck and you can't get out, and that'll flat ruin your day with 2 or 3 laps to go. I've been there, done that. Doesn't feel good.
So many things for the drivers to think about. As this race is 90 laps long, they've got to be able to stay on the asphalt for 90 laps. They've got to be able to take care of the brakes and the transmission, 220 miles, pit road speed, 30 miles per hour, pit window, and they've got to make it there to be able to get in on 2 stops. $4.8 million, that's the purse, but most of these guys are thinking about one thing, points. They got to be able to be in that chase in the next 5 races. Up front, Jeff Gordon, if he finishes 12th or better today, he will be in the chase no matter what happens in the next 5 events. Denny Hamlin beside him. A capacity crowd on their feet. as 43 of NASCAR's finest come out of turn 11 and head down to take the green flag at Watkins Glen. Watkins decides to make a move early on and takes the point away down in turn 1.
He did it because he could do it. He had a big head of steam. He got into turn 1 underneath Jeff Gordon. But Jerry, you got to get it done when you can get it done, and Kenseth did it just then.
That's a key move right there for Matt Kenseth, because he can get 5 points if he can lead this first lap.
It kind of looked like Jeff Gordon kind of tiptoed down into turn 1. Didn't know what kind of brakes he was going to have. He was a little careful. Now he gets back.
He didn't tiptoe through the interloop.
No, he didn't like getting past, that's for sure.
So much for being patient at the start and not being aggressive early on, but Jeff Gordon has retaken the lead in about a quarter of a lap. He takes the lead. Denny Hamlin, here's the battle now for third position.
No, I'm really surprised that Kenseth made the pass getting into 1, because it looked like Gordon was not there, that then got real aggressive down the back straightaway. And look at this, 3 wide into turn 10.
Never would have believed he'd lose that many spots in the first lap there after leading going into turn 1.
Right now, these drivers, I started to say they're trying to get settled in, but it looks like nobody's settled in right now. It looks like it's the last lap of the race. They're wide open, not giving anybody anything.
Look at Jimmy Johnson trying to make a move on Jeff Burton.
Left side of your screen, Jimmy Johnson had that 5th place finish last week at Pocono, gained a couple of spots back in the points, just gets in front of Jeff Burton as they head into the S's.
Boy, these guys are aggressive early.
Well, right now, they're in the S's, guys, and this is a really fast portion of the racetrack. They got to be careful. They're in the throttle, out of the throttle. You hear that? Hear the shift? He just went into high gear. That's 4th gear now, coming down the back straightaway. About 160 miles an hour. Hard brake down into the inner loop, we call it. 2nd gear. It finally looks like they got all their aggressive moves out of their system for a minute here, and they're getting a single out. Dave, what do you got on the 17 down there?
Well, Rusty, the reason why Matt Kenseth didn't hold the lead past the first couple of corners there was because his car is very loose. Matt radioed in at the end of the first lap, guys, this car was so loose I could hardly drive it. I about wrecked 6 times.
And he still loses spots. Jimmy Johnson just passed him. Jimmy's got a good car.
That is for 5th position. Johnson goes by the 17 car. The 45 car of Kyle Petty, a former winner here, is headed to the garage area. Came right down pit road at the end of lap 1 and turned hard right in the garage. We'll update you on what the situation is with him in just a moment.
We watched Jeff Gordon in practice here the last couple days. He did not post fast times, and everybody was concerned about it. But we're watching his laps times now. He's pretty competitive. He looks like he's in good shape.
He was one of the slower cars in practice all day yesterday, and these guys must have went to work. I'd say they got on the cell phone to Steve Letarte, too, and came up with a little different setup for this car because they're looking strong right here.
Alan?
Yeah, Doc, I talked to Jeff Mendering, the interim crew chief on this 24 car this morning, asked him about that practice yesterday. He said at the beginning of the practice, we weren't that great. We got better at the end of the first practice. Then we went in a completely different direction for the final practice. It didn't work. We went back like we were at the end of the first practice. We feel like we had a top 10 car then. One thing interesting to watch on Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin and all of these guys up front, watch when they're on heavy braking going down into turn 1. A lot of them are dragging that right front tire as they make the hard right corner on the brakes.
And that's one thing you got to be real careful of here at these tracks is putting a flat spot on that tire. When they slide that wheel getting in the corner, it can actually grind a flat spot on that tire and really hurt you.
Andy, we talked about this for the last couple of days now. These cars have a lot more body roll left and right when you get in the corner. When you make that fast right-hand turn, that body rolls over and that right front tire gets very light, and it's easy to lock that right front brake up at that point.
Now, these guys have had to change their driving styles just a little bit because of this car. It's got such a high center of gravity, like you said, that they have to do that braking in a straight line and get off of it before they turn that thing into the corner.
Speaking of body roll, the 2 cars rolling in and out of traffic, and the word is he might have had some contact. Dave?
And the worst part about that, Doc, is that can push in that front end and close off all the cooling to that motor. In fact, the team rolled their cooling equipment up to the front of their pit box just in case Kurt dove on pit road and needed that motor cooled back down, getting hot already.
His front end looks pretty good, though, Dave. I don't see any damage. from the camera shots we see, this car's been very durable for that. You know, these bumpers line up real well, and so when they bump each other, they don't kill that grill like they used to with the old car.
Well, that's probably good feedback from Kurt saying, I hit the guy. Now, if his temperatures are going sky high, then he's got something concerned about, but he doesn't have any problem in the front, that's for sure.
Juan Pablo Montoya started back in 18th position. You heard the comments and the concern when we spoke to him as an in-race reporter or tried to speak with him about the front end settings. Doesn't seem to be bothering him very, very much right now. He has moved already up in the 14th spot and is all over Ryan Newman for 13th position.
You know, you saw him stop on the racetrack on the parade lap and reset his steering wheel. He's trying to get this problem that was in his mind with the wheel out of his head, but it looks like he's cleared it and he's back at it now. Looks like he's trying to really work over the rear bumper of Ryan Newman now. Real fast portion of the track, the S's. Let's listen in.
I'm really impressed with Jeff Gordon's car because he hasn't shown this kind of strength all weekend. And here it comes time to race, and he's all tuned up. He's running lap times faster than he's run all week.
Well, guys, you know, he practiced and changed all kind of things, stayed in that one set of tires for a while, and didn't post a big number. And if I remember correctly, he did the same thing at Indianapolis to us.
It is Jeff Gordon, Denny Hamlin, and as you heard Alan Bestwick say, everyone in the garage area this morning, or most people were saying, watch out for that 20 car, the guy on the top of your screen, Tony Stewart, who's trying to reel in this front twosome. Gordon, Hamlin, and here comes Stewart, who's won 3 times in the last 5 races at Watkins Glen. Lap 5 of 90, and the guy that everyone knows has been so successful here is the guy who is leading right now. He's won 9 times on a road course, but 4 of those wins have come here at historic Watkins Glen International.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Jeff Gordon wins on a road course. Gordon goes into the lead. He's headed for his 3rd straight win. Gordon has a run on it going into turn 1. Jeff Gordon has won. New leader at Watkins Glen. Here comes the road course king, Jeff Gordon.
Oh, Jeff Gordon, that's the way to do it.
We welcome you back to Watkins Glen. Early laps here in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series event. Let's take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. Which NASCAR road course is the most challenging? Is it Mexico City, Sonoma, Montreal, or Watkins Glen? Text the word crew to 191 on your wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later on in the event here this afternoon. Guys, hold your votes. I know what you think. Pretty tough vote. That's going to be close.
All right, I'll keep my mouth shut on that. That's going to be a tough one there. There are a lot of turns and all of them pretty equal, too.
Jeff Gordon is the leader. Tony Stewart has been able to take the 2nd spot away. We told you he was on the hunt. He has not been able to catch Gordon, but he was able to get by Denny Hamlin.
Let's take a look at this pass right now that Stewart's getting ready to put on Hamlin. He sets him up really good. Coming off of turn 9 into turn 10, an area where a lot of guys don't generally try to make a pass because you got a gravel trap right there, and if you get in too hot, you're going to get stuck in it. Boy, Kurt Busch, you got the 8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind him, and you saw a little tap from Matt Kenseth, but this is a transfer spot for a chase. And take a look at Busch, gets in too hot. And we talked about that earlier. You got to stay on the course in order to succeed here and finish. Kurt just a little aggressive there.
It's real easy to overdrive this racetrack, especially with this new car. This new car takes a lot more finesse, it seems like, than the old car.
Some of the drivers were quoted as saying it reminds them of a school bus. It's a very top heavy and leans quite a bit in the turns, and you got to get ahead on your steering, particularly in a place like this.
And we saw a school bus out there during the parade lap. I said, there it goes right there.
You know, that's one of the toughest turns right there, guys. They come in wide open at the bottom of the S's and try to carry the throttle as much as they can through those S's. There's been some cars crash in practice through that, so they've got to be careful there. Now, as we're saying that, here's Tony Stewart. He has just run down Jeff Gordon. The last time by, folks, he's about 0.2 seconds faster. Got some rhythm going on. Alan?
Yeah, Rusty, here's the kicker to that. Tony came on the radio a couple laps ago and said, I'm just taking it easy.
Yeah, he had driven, those guys, the 24 and the 11, had driven away from Tony by quite a bit. And I thought, well, maybe his tires are just low or tire pressures are low. And maybe just the car hadn't come to him, but I didn't know he was just out there playing with them.
He's taking it easy. Jeff Gordon don't want to hear that.
Off the track, here's the 12 car of Ryan Newman, and the splitter on the front of that car looks like a snow plow. He's picking up gravel.
That's going to cause a little problem, too, because these rocks are going to fly off of that. You see the rocks flying all over the racetrack.
David Reagan, the 6th car, first time ever at Watkins Glen, and that will indeed bring out, as you said, Andy Petrie, a full course caution. They got all kinds of gravel on the racetrack.
We heard Rusty Wallace calling that the vacuum cleaner turn yesterday.
Okay, that corner will just suck you right into turn 10, and that's one that'll say, come on, try to make a pass on me right here.
And this is what's really tough. You get the car stuck, it will not go in there, will it, Rusty?
We talked earlier about you got to stay on the track, and if you get off the track, you go axle deep, and you got to be pulled out with a wrecker. He's going to lose a couple laps going with this problem right now, and that is terrible.
He's going to have to call AAA for that little deal there to get a tow truck pull him out.
Watch again. Now watch the 12 car. In the front of that car, the splitter looks like a snowplow, just plowing through the gravel.
Jerry, Ryan Newman did the right thing, though. He stayed in the throttle. He knows he couldn't get out of it. If he did, he'll get stuck. So it's like driving in the snow or getting stuck in the mud. You got to keep that momentum going. And that's what he did. He did a perfect job getting out of that.
That gravel is there for safety, so these guys, if they run off, they don't go slamming into those guardrails, and it really works to slow the car down.
Yeah, normally in the winter you follow the snowplow, but it wasn't a good move for David Reagan. He came right in the gravel and stopped, and the car spun around, and it probably just shut off on him. Now they're going to have to pull him out. The rookie David Reagan, his first ever trip to Watkins Glen. Boy, will he remember this one in the early laps. Wreckers are headed his way. We'll take a break and come back in just a moment. Back at historic Watkins Glen International, we are under caution for the first time today. Coming out on lap number 10 when a couple of cars decided to go off through the gravel. Didn't want to go there. They ended up there. One of them was the 12 car of Ryan Newman.
Let's take a look at the replay here. Ryan Newman, he got off in the gravel traps and stayed in the throttle. Exactly what you got to do, because if he would have slowed down, he would have been stuck. So he stayed in it. Stuff is flying everywhere, but take a look at that front splitter. A lot of concern whether that's strong or not, but it's holding up and it's just banging through everything, and he clears it. Now the crew's taking a look at it, adjusting a little bit, but Andy, it looks like it's held up pretty good.
For an explanation on splitters and how they work, let's go to our ESPN Dish Tech Center and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. What we're looking at here, this piece of 3/8 material right here, it's the splitter that NASCAR has deemed for the COT car, and it's affixed, as you can see here, through the bumper bars, and you got heim joints run down to it, but it's also anchored by a piece of 1-inch square tubing back here that's steel. So this thing just proved to everyone on the circuit that it's very durable, because when you go through that P-travel trap as fast as Ryan Newman did a while ago, and it's still on the front of the car, it's a real durable piece.
Wow, that is very durable, Tim. And for more information on splitters, log on to ESPN.com, search word Tech Center. Several cars, a number of cars coming on the pit road. Dave?
Yeah, we reported early in the race that that car was very, very loose. You know, Matt was reporting it's really not bad to the left, but on the high-speed right-handers where I've never lifted before, I'm finding myself having to get way out of the gas, and so they made chassis and air pressure adjustments to try to help Matt with that. He didn't want to hurt the lefts, but he really needed help on the rights.
Now, a lot of times you got to take the front of the cars when it's loose in both directions and primarily loose to the right. The easiest thing to fix them is go to the front tire pressure and put extra pressure in the front tires to get the front end more stability.
Yeah, one of the things about a road course that makes it a little challenging is you got to handle both rights and lefts. At an oval, you can kind of adjust on the car and turn screws to adjust it, you know, just to go one direction. But when you got to go both directions, sometimes it's hard to fix the car.
None of the top 12 drivers opted to come on the pit road. And Andy, you were thinking that these guys up front probably would not pit this early anyway.
Yeah, the guys up front are not going to pit this early because they can't make it inside that window to make their next stop. So you won't see these guys. You may see them here fairly soon come in under green, though. But this was just a little bit too early for some of these front runners.
The 7 car of Robbie Gordon, who ran so well here last year, finishing in the top 5 in both events, had a great run, led the most laps at Infineon early in the year, is making his move toward the front. Dave?
Hey,
how do you not see?
And he's passed a lot of race cars right now, Jerry. The one thing that he has to be careful, of course, is not damaging his car on the way through. And Andy, something you said earlier just sparked a conversation that I had in the garage early this morning. You talked about the bumpers matching up on these race cars. The rear bumper of the car in front matches to the front bumper of the car in back. And as Robbie runs through, if he happens to get into someone, he's a lot less likely to spin them out. And the crew chief I was speaking with said, we're going to have fewer cautions here for people spinning each other, and that can affect the way that you plan this race. If you thought there was going to be a caution before, there might be less of a chance now because there should be less spinning. Now, trips into the gravel trap, well, we can't help that with the bumper.
Well, that all sounds good, Dave, but I still think these guys are going to figure out a way to spin each other out. But that is a good way to think of it. Maybe there will be a few less caution laps, and that's probably what, you know, when they're figuring their strategy, they're counting on a certain amount of caution laps.
And the older cars that had the lower noses, they would actually get up under the fuel cells and lift the back of the car up. I think that's what Dave was alluding to. But now they can just ram each other in the back like a bump draft at Talladega we might see, or Daytona, things like that.
Getting set for the green here after the first caution flag today. If you just joined our coverage, Jeff Gordon was on the pole by virtue of the fact we started by owner's points. So qualifying was washed out on Saturday. He has led all 12 laps thus far, but Tony Stewart, who started back in 5th position, came all the way to 2nd and is chomping at the bit to make a move on Jeff Gordon. Got to wonder if he's going to try to make that move on the restart down in turn 1.
Guys got to be careful getting into 1. They got about half the downforce, same brakes, and they won't stop as good because of that.
A lot of these guys are going to be trying to dive on the guy in front of them to try to outbrake him into this turn 1. That's always where the trouble spot is.
Will Tony Stewart make the move? Will Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch behind him be able to go with him? We're going to find out here momentarily. Green flag waves once again, and here comes Tony on the straightaway.
He's got position on Jeff Gordon right here. Open up the door for Denny Hamlin.
And when you got position on the inside like Stewart's got, he's the first guy to the right-hander, and you do not want to be in that outside lane. And wisely, Jeff Gordon tucks right in behind him.
On the opening lap of the race, Jeff Gordon got passed in turn 1 by Kenseth, but then he ran him down and passed Kenseth back on the back straightaway. Let's see if he can catch Tony Stewart here. Looks like Tony is just pulling away.
Guys, we just saw the 3 cars come through the inner loop, and it also has a big gravel trap right there. That's another portion of the track. If you get off, you can get stuck, and you don't want to have a problem there either. You saw what happened to the 6 car, have to be towed in.
Pretty impressed with Tony Stewart and how deep he can drive into these corners.
Well, we watched him just a couple laps ago, guys. He was about 0.2 of a second faster than Jeff Gordon. And all through practice the last couple of days, Stewart has had the fastest car, so this is not a big surprise.
Tony Stewart trying to hold off Denny Hamlin. Now Kevin Harvick is the car, the yellow car there, sneaking a pick to the inside of Jimmy Johnson.
You're seeing a lot of smoke out of a lot of cars coming into the turn 1 where they're locking the tires up and sliding in there. A lot of them have a big trail of smoke, and generally that would be the right front tire locking up because of the body roll, things like that.
And here's the battle of these two guys that are trying to make the chase, and right on the edge. Kurt Busch is just inside that cutoff point, and that 8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is looking to get in there.
And we've already seen some bumping and pushing with Kurt Busch almost going off in turn 1 a little bit ago. Earnhardt was able to get back by him, which is why he's back in front of the 2 car. Remember, the other car in this race to the chase, the 12 car's already been in the gravel pit once today.
Well, Jerry, one thing, these guys got to keep each other in their gun sights. They don't need to race real hard, banging each other and tear their cars up early. As long as they're in a position to race with each other throughout the day, then probably the pit crews are going to separate them once they hit pit road.
Juan Pablo Montoya right behind this battle, the 42 car being shown in 9th position.
Now you're going to be down in 3rd gear right here. All the way down, hard brake right now, down to 2nd gear. Some guys go to 1st, but it sounds like Juan just went to 2nd.
Our Wrangler telemetry shows you exactly. Watch him just hard on the throttle. Let's see if he'll tap the brake on the S's.
Jamie, you got more?
Well, guys, I talked to Donnie Wingo, the crew chief for Juan Pablo Montoya, and remember, back at Sonoma, this team actually won the race on fuel mileage. Donnie told me they were surprised how good their pit strategy was and how great their fuel mileage was. But I asked him about here. He said, you know what? In everything that we tested at VIR a couple weeks ago, our fuel mileage is great, better than expected. So look at this team to stay out the longest and maybe mix up their strategy to try to bring home a win and make history, becoming the only driver ever to win on all 3 road courses in 1 year in the NASCAR Nextel Cup.
Jamie, I was talking to those guys down in the garage area. It looks like this team, this Ganassi team as a whole, gets better fuel mileage than just about anybody down there. And that's why they have, I mean, you can have great pit strategy, but if you can't get the fuel mileage, the strategy, you can't work any kind of strategy in your favor.
Oh boy, did you guys just see that? The 2-car Kurt Busch went past the 29 of Kevin Harvick, and it looks like Kevin's car is starting to fade just a little bit. They're probably looking forward to their first pit stop so they can tune this thing up a little bit.
Harvick to 29, now a bit of a sitting duck there with the 42 chomping at the bit.
Oh man, I tell you, Kevin Harvick just said he's losing brakes right now, and it's way too early for that to happen. Lap 16. Let's take a look at Juan Pablo Montoya coming down the back straightaway and see what he can do with Harvick under braking. This is a key area right here.
This is way too early to be losing brakes.
41, Reed Sorensen, gas and go on that car for Ganassi. He gets it, almost stalls it, now gets it fired. Remember, he has to go at 30 miles an hour down pit road as Tony Stewart is hustling around as the leader. And a fuel strategy already being played out there.
Yeah, you see Reed Sorensen's team, Jimmy Illich and those guys, making their pit stop here on lap 16. That's proving right there that they've got the best mileage of anybody, because they were able to come in now and start working this race backwards. And working it backwards, that shows you that they get the best mileage.
Working it backwards from lap 90, short pitting, trying to be the first guy to come on pit road. And how it works, if you're the first one in when everyone else pits, guess where you are?
You can be leading.
Going to be leading the race. We'll see if that works out for Reed Sorensen. 17 laps in. The guy who's leading right now is the 20 car of Tony Stewart.
NASCAR Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen International in the rolling hills of Watkins Glen, New York. A lot's happened so far. Things are moving quickly. We'll get you caught up in the McDonald's race rundown. Jeff Gordon, the points leader, the pole sitter, the 4-time winner here, led the first 13 laps.
Jeff Gordon looked good right out of the block. Nice, strong start. Matt Kenseth took him over for just half a lap, and then Jeff got back. He got in the lead lap and ran strong early.
The trouble in lap 10 for Ryan Newman on the outside, looking in on the chase for the Nextel Cup. 19 points back, gets in the gravel, but manages to get out.
Did a great job. He kept pedaling that horse until he could get it out on the track again. Made a mess, but didn't get stuck.
And not so lucky, the rookie, David Reagan, rookie mistake. He's getting in the gravel, and he's not getting out.
He got in there and got bogged down. They had to call the hook to come get him.
And that brought out caution number 1. Now, off the restart, Tony Stewart, who had been sitting in second and challenging, takes the lead from Gordon.
I'll tell you what, too, Susie, he's pulled out to about a 15-20 car length lead. He has just taken off. Could lap the field soon.
Everyone knew Stewart would be dangerous. He's won 3 of the last 5 races at Watkins Glen and finished second in another.
He's the real deal.
Stewart and Gordon have combined 14 road course wins. We knew those guys would be dangerous.
Yeah, we knew they'd do the drill. And as you see, Tony, he's actually lost a little bit of his lead. He was long gone just a minute ago. Jeff Gordon starting to pick up the pace as well as Denny Hamlin.
And the road course race is all about pit strategy, and that should be coming up pretty soon for the leaders.
Yeah, we should see that coming up real soon. And we'll see Kevin Harvick here. He's having some problems with his brakes. He was on the radio just a second ago, said he may come in because his brakes are going away, and it is awful early for that to be happening. We'll have to keep a good eye on Kevin Harvick.
And Harvick came in with so much momentum, back-to-back Busch road course wins. Let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Susie, and part of that momentum was winning here last year. He's a defending winner. However, they're in a new car, so the team told me nothing transferred from their win last year. So right now you're looking at Kevin Harvick. He's complaining about his brakes. He just came over the radio a couple laps ago and said, I don't know how we've burned these brakes up the way we have, but we have. The team's planning on Kevin coming in the next couple laps. He said he needs some side bite, and of course, going to work on those brake problems. You could see the onboard right there, a little water bottle there, Doc.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, Rusty Wallace, you've lived what Kevin Harvick is living right now. Soft brake pedal or minimal to no brake pedal on a road course. How do you adjust as a driver in the seat?
Well, he's obviously got a problem right now, that's for sure. So he's got to self-adjust to it. He's going to have to back his corners up. He's going to have to get out of the gas way early and then maybe downshift early to help slow that car down a little bit. Now, there's one thing that can do. That can hurt the motor on an early downshift, but he's definitely got a problem. They're going to have to wait till they get to the pits and try to assess this problem.
And the problem is, Rusty, when you get to the pit, there's not a lot that can be done to help those brakes. You're kind of got what you got. Unless they've got tape on the brake ducts or something they can take off, it's going to be very hard to get these things to actually come back.
Kevin Harvick could have a long afternoon after winning here yesterday. The 83 car, Brian Vickers, who had gained 16 positions since the drop of the green flag, and now spins it around.
Problem looks like it happened in turn 10, the corner I call the vacuum cleaner corner. It sucks you right in there. And we've seen a lot of action in that corner today with Ryan Newman and now Brian Vickers.
No full course caution. He spun it around, got it going. There's a lot of sheet metal damage on the left side of that Toyota Camry. Part of the front number is missing.
And we saw him get hit by another car, and it's done some damage here. It looks like it's going to stay attached if he can get back around to the pits. They may end up black flagging him for this metal dangling from it.
Vickers spinning. You see Rudd go by. He comes back right across right in front of Rudd, and there's the Army car. Regan Smith.
Looks like Regan Smith got the worst of that, too. Full course yellow.
They were not going to put the yellow out, but there's debris on the racetrack coming off a couple of these cars, and NASCAR saw him get the car fired again. See all the debris and pieces of sheet metal and chunks?
Yeah, that's part of the door foam out of that 83 car. That's part of the safety features of this new car. They got this foam inside that door panel, and we see it got ripped open right. You can see it falling out of there. And there it is. That's the door foam. Tim Brewer can show us a little bit more about that door foam down in our Dish Tech Center.
Andy, we've got it right here. Normally what the cars had was just exposed roll cage right here. NASCAR on a COT car, they've inserted the lower piece as well as the upper piece, and that's what you see outside the car dangling right now. But I'm sure there's no harm to the structure of the car, just a little bit of foam damage. Andy?
And when you get hit in the side, Andy, as a driver, you like that being there because it sure does cushion the blow. Now, it's fell out of the car, but I don't think it's going to slow that car down at all. They didn't see much damage on the front end, which creates downforce.
It's definitely a safety feature for these cars, and I think it might be one of the best things that they've done with this new car. Creates a little bit of a, trash on the racetrack, but no big deal.
For more information on door foam and some of the safety features, log on to ESPN.com. Search word know-how. Part of the 7 years that NASCAR was developing this car of tomorrow, they put door foam there, and they actually widened these cars by 4 inches to move the driver more toward the middle. And the reason being, they want that foam there to absorb energy from those door impacts, Rusty, that you guys had to take in the old cars years ago.
And Jerry, those were some hard impacts we used to take. I mean, when you got hit in the side, it was like getting hit with a sledgehammer, man. It was just a real rattle your cage, so to speak. But now with the soft wall and these absorbing pieces inside the doors, it's just a much more softer blow. It's like taking a hammer and whacking it against your mattress at home, which just really deadens the blow.
If they keep making these cars safe, maybe I'll drive them.
Get on in there, man. I'll watch you.
Yeah, these cars are a lot safer than they used to be.
Yeah, they sure are. I mean, it's a great time to be a driver right now for safety, Jerry.
We're having a hard enough time keeping this guy out of the car. Now, don't you go back, jump back in the race car and drive. Okay, pit stops and pit strategy. We are at lap 23. A lot of the guys early today were talking about making it on 2 stops. Andy?
Yeah, this is one of those. Some of these guys, if they can get pretty good mileage, this will be just inside or just outside of their window if they're kind of counting on some caution laps. So you might see some of these guys come down here now, because it's opened up the window for a lot more guys.
I think you've got to gamble right now and go for it and think there's going to be more cautions and save fuel later. And they're all getting wound up right now. You see the crew guys stretching and getting their jacks up there and the gas ready, and they're getting wound up for their big pit stop today. That's what they flew up here for, to do this.
We saw yesterday Kevin Harvick in the NASCAR Busch Series car roll the dice. He made it 43 laps, but they had a 22-gallon fuel cell. This fuel cell here is now just right at 18 gallons.
Some of the guys said they can get maybe 18.5 gallons out of this fuel cell, but it's not as big as the cell they've been used to here.
It's like some of the cells you used up here.
Oh, no, there's nowhere near as big as ones I used to run here.
These cars are getting an average of about 4 to 4.5 miles per gallon, and some of them get as little as about 3.5. Depends how bad their fuel mileage is. Talked to several teams. and they're all looking at about 4 miles to the gallon right now.
Well, who will roll the dice? Will they come in now? Can some of these guys that are getting that fuel mileage Rusty's talking about be able to come in and make it on one more stop?
Well, here's your answer.
Well, it's going to be a single file. It's a parade of the lead cars down pit road. Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Denny Hamlin. Essentially the top 15 cars headed on the pit road as we head down to Dave Burns.
And they're not automatically in their window at the Kurt Busch camp here. They'll need a lot of caution laps to help them out, but they did want to come in with everyone else. If they did so, chassis adjustment, 4 tires for Kurt Busch.
And Jimmy Johnson makes his way down to the pit box, salvaging 2 positions in the points last week. He said he's a little bit loose on those right-handers. They're going to go down on the track bar. He said he's lifting early in every corner to save fuel. Alan?
Tony Stewart described his car as neutral. That means it's well balanced. This is a little earlier than they wanted to pit, but they felt like they had to stop here. A 4-tire change for the 20 car.
Race off of pit road. Jeff Gordon's crew gets him out. They gain a spot. Dale Earnhardt Jr. gains 4 spots. That's what was the roar you heard a moment ago from this massive crowd here.
Yeah, Tony Stewart's guys looked like they were trying to get some tape off the grill. They had a little tool there trying to grab some tape, like maybe he was running hot, and it cost him a few spots. He lost 2 spots in the pits. Denny Hamlin loses 3 spots.
So the second caution flag of the day on lap 23, the 83 car. Spins, gets a little bit of tag from the 01 car of Regan Smith, and pit stops take place. Back with a green flag in a moment. Back at Watkins Glen, pace car pulling away. Perfect timing as we get set for the green flag here once again at the conclusion of caution number 2. Jamie McMurray will lead him down into turn 1. McMurray, who set on the pole at Infineon earlier in the year, becomes the 3rd different leader here at Watkins Glen this afternoon.
Now, Jamie McMurray is an incredible road course driver, but behind him, P.J. Jones and Patrick Carpentier, road racing specialist right on his bumper. But Jamie's been really fast in practice up here also, along with Tony Stewart.
Jamie McMurray and P.J. Jones, Patrick Carpentier, and Jeremy Mayfield stayed out here. They didn't pit when these other guys did, so they're going to be able to stay out here a little longer, which probably means they just can't make it on 2 more stops.
Take a look at our lap leaders, our Ford lap leaders thus far here at lap 25. Jeff Gordon, who set on the pole here by virtue of starting on points, led 13 laps. Tony Stewart 11, and McMurray had led a single lap just now on the restart. 3rd place car, Patrick Carpentier. A lot of high hopes about what this open wheel driver could do here today. Mike?
Well, it was a crazy week for this team, Doc. Originally, there was a plan in place to have Boris Said in this car at the beginning of the week. The plan was to have him behind the wheel here, but it fell through because of a sponsor conflict. Keep in mind, Boris Said heavily in line with Ford, and the Dodge Motor Company just wanted no part of that. That's why they turned their attention to Patrick Carpentier, and this has been like a dream come true for him. Remember, just a year ago, a little less than a year ago, he actually held a press conference at New Hampshire International Speedway, mainly just to announce his availability, to announce to the world that this is what he wanted to do, and finally he's gotten his opportunity. He proved he could do it a week ago in Montreal, and he had a very strong performance.
Yeah, that's the best announcement you can make when you sit on the pole in your very first NASCAR Busch race at Montreal and finish 2nd. That's going to tell everybody, hey, I'm available, and guys, my phone's going to start ringing. Tony Stewart was the leader when the caution came out, came on the pit road, and had some issues.
And we saw these guys looked like they were trying to get the tape off the grill. We see right here, they've got a little tool. They're trying to pull the tape off the grill. Which means he's probably running hot. Normally this guy, like the tire carrier, would reach down there and pull that tape. It looks like these guys have come up with a neat little tool to try to do it and save some time, but it just didn't quite work. They kept trying to get it and never did get that piece of tape off of there.
Andy, it looks like it's so wobbly. That tool was like a trick pair of pliers or something that's hooked to some type of a pole, and it's so wobbly the guy couldn't grab a hold of it. Good idea, though.
Why wouldn't you in the future just have the guy come around the car, take an extra second, and just grab that as he can pull it as it comes by?
Right there's the reason, that extra second. This stuff is about split seconds, so these guys are trying to save time. They'll work it out.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car being shown in 8th position. You have more, Jamie?
Well, yesterday, Doc, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was so unhappy with this car. Nothing was going right. He talked to Tony Eury Jr., his crew chief. He was so frustrated. So overnight, they thought about it, made some changes, came out today, rolled the dice, didn't know what they had. Well, today he's been running top 10 all day, and he's being sure to let the team know how hard he's working. This was on his radio just a few moments ago.
Yeah, that ain't no pace. That's 110%. All deep, I'm telling you. You got to tell me what the strategy is. Let me know when I can run about 90. I'm about to go off any corner. I'm wheel hopping like hell getting down into one because I got the brakes so damn hot.
He's basically saying he's working so hard. You guys let me know when I can take a breath. But so far, no complaints, and that could be because he's out of breath and he's not talking a whole lot. But he's saying the car is great. That came in, didn't make any changes, just 4 tires. So big turnaround from yesterday in happy hour when he ran 28.
He talks about wheel hopping in turn 1. Is it because he's using the brakes really hard, or the brakes have just gotten hot and he just touches them at all and they stick?
Well, what's going on right now is brakes don't have the efficiency, the stopping efficiency they had early in the race. And he gets down in there and he applies the brakes real hard. And when he does that, more of it's going to the rear wheels and it starts locking the rear wheels up. As he said, he's wheel hopping the heck out of the wheels getting into turn 1, and he's lost that efficiency. And that's due because of heat.
That is one of the characteristics of a stock car in general, that if you really jam the brakes on and you get those rear wheels kind of sliding, they'll start hopping up and down and just lose all the grip that they had.
I think we should talk a little bit, Andy, about why they're having this problem right now, and they didn't have it with the older car. The cooling that's going to the front of these COT cars is really not as much as they had last year. But one of the main problems also is they don't have any downforce like they had last year. How close is that downforce?
Well, the downforce, these cars make almost really half of the effective downforce the old car made. And that is a big factor as far as braking and stopping ability.
Jeff Gordon led the first 13 laps here prior to the caution flag was passed by the 20 car of Tony Stewart, now being shown back in 4th position. Alan?
Jeff's crew got him off pit road first of the cars that stopped under that caution. They'll wait for the cars in front of them to cycle to the pit lane in these next several laps. And here's one of the keys for Gordon's team and for all the teams as they try and jockey for strategy. Getting the car out in free racetrack. Think about when you're on an interstate highway and you're in rush hour traffic. You're on the brakes, you're off the brakes, you're on the brakes. You're working the car very hard. But when you're on open highway, you set the cruise control, you make better time, and you're not really stressing your car as much. That's what these race teams are all looking for, and Jeff Gordon's team has now. They've got him out in clean air. He's not stressing the car by really running up close behind someone or next to each other like these guys are leaving the pit lane. And that's going to help them conserve those brakes for later in the race.
And Alan, they're not going to have to wait too long, the guys on the 24 team. If I'm down there with him, if I'm his crew chief, I would tell him to take it easy here, let these guys run about 2 or 3 more laps, and they'll be in the pits, and you'll be the guy out front. And then here they go. You see someone peeling off.
Andy, we hear people talking about, you hear these guys talking about their brakes going away, but it's not actually what people think. I mean, it's not that the brake pedal is just going to the floor and it's free rolling through the corner. It's actually that the brake catches at different times because it's so hot. Is that correct?
Yeah, Brad, what happens is the brake pedals usually stay up pretty good on these cars, but they start fading. In other words, if you're pushing as hard as you can push, the car's just not stopping as good as it stopped when the brakes were cooling.
P.J. Jones, one of the cars that did not pit on the previous yellow, and they're having trouble. They got it stalled. They finally get the car refired as he is back down pit road. The 7 car, Robbie Gordon, who had come from the back of the pack, is in front of you, Dave.
And this is a decision they made based on how poorly that last pit stop went. They had terrible trouble on pit road, just a slow stop. And because they were way in the back here, they opened their window early here, came in now. They're in the back anyway. And now Robbie will try to make it from here on one more stop.
We use the term opening the window, Andy, about calculating back. Now, it's a 90-lap race. A crew chief, open the window for us. Calculate backwards. What are they talking about?
It's a 90-lap race, and if you just work it backwards and you're able to run 30 laps, that's just 30, 60, and 90. But if you can get better than that, if you can get a 35-lap wind out of these fuel tanks, and you can go back and start working it backwards from 35 laps back from 90. And here comes the leader, Jamie McMurray, making his pit stop.
Speaking of opening the windows, he comes down pit road. McMurray, who had a great run at Infineon, trying to duplicate it here today. Dave?
And an ill-timed caution in that race cost them the win. They did run out of fuel late in that event. They had to do it over again. Jack Roush and Jamie talked this week and said we do it the same way. So today, Larry Carter, crew chief, and driver Jamie McMurray, we are staying to our strategy. This is lap. Oh, the trouble. The jack fell. They're going to take a little more time here, but because it's a road course, and unless he damaged anything, that's not going to be a significant problem for Jamie. But they'll pit one more time. This, as we just said, opens their fuel window.
That was really smart on the hands of Jamie McMurray not leaving when that jack fell, because when that jack dropped, that means you're supposed to go as a driver. Evidently, Larry Carter, the crew chief, said stop, stop, and Jamie did too, and then went ahead and did that.
What do you think is going through Patrick Carpentier's mind? He's in the 10 car now. His very first ever NASCAR Nextel Cup race. He set on the pole in the Busch race in Montreal last week and led 13 laps and finished second. And now here he is leading Jeff Gordon out of turn, and Tony Stewart out of turn 11. Plus 35 spots for Carpentier, leading for Gillette Evernham.
Well, Jerry's probably feeling pretty good right now, leading that race, that's for sure, but it's going to be short-lived because he's going to come down pit road pretty shortly, make a pit stop, and give it all back up. But, you know, for a couple laps, he gets a pound in his chest and say, I'm the man, and you know what? He really is. He's running good out there.
I talked to the Evernham guys this morning and trying to figure out this fuel mileage deal, and he said that 2 of their cars are actually on a fuel mileage game here, trying to make mileage and giving up a little bit of power, and one of them has got full power. So I couldn't get out of him which one it was that we're not taking any power away, but Patrick Carpentier is definitely looking good here, and he's already run about 32 laps.
Let's check out our sprint speed lap. Jeff Gordon, last lap, 119.528 miles per hour, and the leader's last lap, you called it, Rusty, Gordon is coming in a hurry, 118.397, because Patrick Carpentier is going to have to get on pit road here in the next couple of laps. Gordon coming up, Carpentier probably coming to the pits. We'll take a break and come back to Watkins Glen in a moment. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International here in Watkins Glen, New York. Patrick Carpentier has yet to come on pit road as we are just 35 laps into this 90-lap event, and Tony Stewart has gone sailing by the 24 car.
Look, Greg Cipotelli just got a hold of him and said, hey, turn it loose. We got plenty of fuel mileage, and Tony Stewart just stood on it. And, man, he really has picked the pace up right now. He's about 4/10 of a second faster than Carpentier. Let's take a look at the pass he put on Jeff Gordon here.
You can see Jeff Gordon was probably being a little conservative around this 10 car with Patrick Carpentier. And now he just looks like he just let him have it, let Stewart have the spot.
Yeah, you can tell that Jeff just got on the throttle right there, approaching turn 10.
That's good heads-up, smart racing.
Yeah, that's a smart driver, just for sure. I mean, there's nothing he's going to gain out of that. Let's watch it from the onboard here. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff just moved over, and it's too early in the race to be fighting each other right now. And both these guys are really conserving the brakes right now, too. I mean, they might be able to go hard as long as they want on fuel landing, but Stewart and everybody else still got to watch his brakes.
And he got a pretty good lead on these guys in 4th and 5th. See Dale Earnhardt Jr. just now coming off turn 11.
One of the stories this week was the fact that Jeremy Mayfield would no longer be in the 36 car after this year. Here comes Mayfield, though, down pit road now for his scheduled stop. Mike.
And, Doc, you may notice something very different about this picture that goes over the wall. It's a hybrid team between Gillette Evernham and Bill Davis Racing. They're sharing the same stall, and the same over-the-wall guys will be pitting both the 36 car and the 10 car throughout the afternoon. A 4-tire change for Jeremy Mayfield, and in about 2 laps, the 10 car is expected down pit road as well, and this team will go to work once again.
It looked like the tire changers and the pit and all the guys, the Jackman, were all part of the same team, but the gas guys were part of the 36 team.
I believe I'd have cut some type of deal and left one of the pit crews at home to save money. I think that'd have been a cheaper way to do this, you know.
Patrick Carpentier, left side of your screen, with a mirror full of Tony Stewart. Carpentier has not been on pit road since lap 12.
Well, look at Carpentier. He's driving that car for all it's worth. And
all right, Patrick, we're on pit next time by. We're going to pit next time by.
Next time by, he's going to bring it down for some fuel and tires, but he really doesn't need to be driving that car that hard now, guys. He could get it off course, and that could ruin his day. He's having a good day right now.
Looks like he's giving it all he's got. I mean, he's sawing that wheel back and forth. He's getting a good lesson here. That Tony Stewart is about the best stock car road racer that he's probably ever seen.
Got to watch him come down the back straightaway into the inner loop, guys. This is the high-speed portion of the racetrack. Tony's just hanging out. Probably been told that Carpentier's pitting the next lap. He's probably not going to rough him up or anything right now. follow him through and let Carpentier pull off the course, then go back to leading this race.
Carpentier, 140 starts in Champ Car, 5 wins. Most of those come on demanding road courses, so Carpentier, no stranger at all to turning left and right and shifting gears. But Carpentier, very new to these heavy stock cars, only the second time he's ever been. He's waving out the left side window, so Stewart will know he's coming into the pit. Stewart will go by, and here comes Patrick Carpentier on pit road.
Mike, you got him?
That's right, Rusty. This team extremely excited. Those are the first laps, believe it or not, that the 10 car have led all season long. You can see the team going back over the wall. They've lost the BDR influence. This is all a Gillette Evernham team. Car pushing just a little bit. Just make a slight air pressure adjustment. 4 tires and fuel, no chassis adjustments. They're down to the way.
15.6 second stop, and that's not bad for guys that just pitted a car about 2 laps ago.
Yeah, they were all warmed up.
It looks like you used half of Bill Davis's team the first stop along with the 10 cars, and this time it was all the 10 cars. They said, hey, it's my car, let's have everything here. But you got to hand it to Tony Stewart for being cool behind Patrick Carpentier, not getting in there with a faster car. That's what a veteran's all about.
Missing the inner loop right here, and that's the rule. He has to come to a complete stop. It looks like Martin Truex Jr. comes to a complete stop and then takes back off. And if he does that, there's no penalty from NASCAR.
And the penalty would be they would black flag you and make you drive through the pit road. Lap 38 of 90. It has been a great day thus far for the NASCAR Nextel Cup stars. A packed house here watching NASCAR stars on the historic road course at Watkins Glen. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, NASCAR Nextel Cup action. Pace car on the track. We are under caution, yes, for the 3rd time today, coming out on lap 39. The 5 car of Kyle Busch involved with some contact just moments ago, and we will show you what brought out this caution flag here. Watch the 99 car.
Looks like Carl Edwards dove inside of Kyle Busch here, and Kyle didn't see him, didn't know he was there. Gets spun around.
I tell you, that's just a racing accident right there. They're both going for the same real estate, and they come together. Nobody meant to do that at all, that's for sure. Let's see what Kevin Harvick saw out of the front of his car. He's coming off of turn 10, down to 11 right now. You see them both get together. Kevin's like, which way is he going? Smoke? Man, looks...
Down low, down low.
And that's probably why the full course caution came out, because of that big smoke cloud down there. They didn't want everybody running into that thing full bore and running into each other.
Our in-race reporter today is Juan Pablo Montoya, who's made it now up to 7th position. Let's check in first with the crew chief, Donnie Wingo.
Hey, Donnie Wingo, Andy Petrie up here at the ESPN. You got a copy?
Go ahead, Andy.
Hey, Donnie, you know, you guys have already made a pit stop here, and these cautions are coming out. Are you going to be able to stay on your strategy, or is any of these things is anything that can trip you up or take you off of the strategy that you started out with?
Not really. I mean, the fuel mileage looked about where we figured it was going to start the race at. So we'll probably get
10-4, Donnie. I'm going to let Rusty talk to Juan right here. You guys have a good race.
10-4. Thank you.
Hey, Juan Pablo, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Hey, Rusty, how you doing?
Buddy, you're looking really good out there in 7th place right now, but hey, a lot of people are having brake problems. How's your brakes holding up?
Pretty much what you're saying. I can tell you, I think we've got a pretty good car. It takes a little bit of time to get going, but once it gets going, it's probably the fastest car in here. And, you know, it's good. You know, this big red Dodge today is working good, and I think we can get a very good result out of this today.
Juan, how are your brakes holding up out there in your car?
Doing pretty good. I've been taking care of them. I'm braking really early. I'm taking my time on the braking. Just making the brake, you know, braking a lot longer so I don't overheat the brakes as much. I guess a lot of people are going to have problems at the end of the race. It'll be pretty interesting to watch.
All right, buddy. Have a great race, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for talking to us.
Juan Pablo Montoya trying to set a NASCAR record to become the first driver ever to win on 3 different road courses in a major NASCAR series in a single season. Back with a green flag in a moment.
NASCAR NASCAR Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen International. We've got the flyover and then the COT making its debut here, flying around these twists and turns. And we know coming in, we want to watch out for the road course specialist. Tony Stewart has dominated here. So have Jeff Gordon running 1 and 2. But then there's guys like Boris Said, who is so thankful to get in a car today.
Oh, he was doing a great service to the Wood brothers as well as them to him. And he started at the back of the field. And he's already up to 17th spot. So it's a tremendous run. We're halfway through, getting on the halfway point of the race. If he can continue to march forward, who knows? Old Boris may be around at the end of the day.
Yeah, he was brokenhearted that he didn't get to qualify. Bill Elliott approached him Saturday morning, offered him his number 21. Doc?
And Susie, he said that's why they call him Awesome Bill, because of things like that. How about Awesome Juan Pablo trying to make a move to the inside of the 2 car right in front of the 99?
And Montoya just told us that his brakes are pretty good shape. He's saving them. He's not abusing them because he needs them late. He looks like he's pretty comfortable with the car the way it's handling right now, guys.
The sound of his voice sounded like he was very confident in the car, and I'm sure he's just saving a lot of it now because it's definitely going to be, at the end of the race, these brakes are going to be just at their very worst.
Tony Stewart leads. A 24 car of Jeff Gordon is second. And the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., if the race ended right now, he would be back in the 12th place in the chase. Jamie?
Well, Doc, Dale Earnhardt Jr. crawled all the way up to 3rd now. And, you know, earlier he said he didn't have a great car. He just wanted to get there. Well, his car is coming around and getting better and better each lap. This was to his crew chief, Tony Uri Jr., just a few moments ago.
What do you think about your car? That little bit of a run right there. Why, did you change something? Yeah, just barely. Why? What for? It was better, I think. But I don't know. Hell, it's hard to tell. I judge by if I'm catching people. You make me catch people, I'm gonna like it. I don't care what it feels like.
For more on communications, on how these drivers talk back and forth with their crew chiefs, log on to ESPN.com. Search word Sprint.
As a driver, and I come down pit road and a crew changes something on me, doesn't tell me what they've done. I don't like that. You can see it in his voice or hear in his voice. He was so concerned about that. Why'd you change it? Did you change something? I don't like it when the crew does that. I mean, evidently he sits in the pit box and says, well, I better do something because he doesn't know what he wants me to do. And from what I'm watching, let's try this. That's the only thing I can think of.
I think it's going to be okay as long as it makes the car run faster. That's what I heard him say.
That's what he said, yeah.
He says, as long as I'm catching people, I don't care what you do to it.
Well, right now he's looking good. He's, like we said earlier, he's moved himself back in the top 12 in those points. And you see Kurt Busch about 3 positions behind him. And those two have got each other on their mind, that's for sure.
The good news for Dale Earnhardt Jr. was he had his best finish of the year last week at Pocono, finishing second. The bad news was the guy he had to beat finished ahead of him. He won the race, Kurt Busch, and therefore he lost that 12th position in the points.
I don't care what happens. If you're racing another guy who's real close to you, it seems like every single race, you're bumper to bumper. You can't get away from that guy. Every championship hunt I've ever seen, he keeps doing it. Wow, Tony Stewart around. Big surprise. That's into turn 1.
We talked about brakes at the top of the show and how it's got to be really careful. We saw Kurt Busch yesterday, one of the fastest cars go off in turn 1, and now Stewart has gone off.
Heard him talk about wheel hop. That was what we talked about earlier. If you hit those brakes too hard, it gets those rear wheels they start to try to slide, and then they start hopping up and down.
Let's take a look at a replay here. Getting into 1, you see the car wheel hopping, spinning. A lot of the guys that wheel hopped and went off straight, but this wheel hop situation just turned Tony right around backwards. And thank gosh they paved that. That used to be a gravel trap a couple years ago, and the drivers like this much better.
Oh, that's a great example of wheel hop right there. You can see the car just shaking up and down as soon as he started hitting that brake pedal. And when these wheels are hopping like that, they just have no grip whatsoever. That's why the car just spun around on them.
Sounds almost like he's going over speed bumps as the car wheels are hopping up and down and just trying to chirp and grab grip in between. Alan?
Yeah, you heard the radio transmission from Tony Stewart. Sorry, guys, wheel hopped it. Now we see what the damage is as Tony Stewart goes from leading this race back to the 19th spot. Nothing else on the radio. He's not asked for new tires. Doesn't sound like he's flat spotted any. But now crew chief Greg Zipadelli has to hope, A, his car is fast enough to regain some of the lost ground, and B, see if he can figure out some magic strategy to try and help his driver do just that.
Alan, this should be fun to watch. The driver whose nickname is Smoke, I've got to believe, is steaming right now because of that kind of a mistake or incident or whatever happens. And he should be fun to watch him try to pick these cars off and march his way back to the front.
I see Zippy up on that pit box, and he's thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to do now. We had a strategy to win the thing, and now I've got to think of something else. We still got a fast car, and Tony can still win the race, but I'm going to have to figure out something to get him back up front.
Take a look at the 96 car right here. I mean, that thing has been fast every single lap. Ron Fellows, a road racing ace, he knows how to get it done here. He raced yesterday in the Busch race, understands his track. So this doesn't surprise me at all that the 96 Ron Fellows is getting this thing to the front. Dave, you got more?
Yeah, Rush, he talked to his crew chief, Brandon Thomas, this morning, and you guys have been discussing brakes. Brandon told me having Ron Fellows saves you brakes. He is just easy on equipment, and he knows how not to abuse those brakes. That also allows them to run more tape over the ducts, and their brakes are at lower temperatures. Now, I said, well, so has he raced them hard this weekend to make sure he can run the car hard if he needs to? And what they did in practice, a corner here, a corner there, Ron stepped on them hard just to make sure they would grab when they needed to. But very easy throughout practice and very easy throughout this race until he needs them.
That's a smart road racer right there. He knows what it takes and knows what he's got to have at the end of the race. And he knows that it doesn't matter right here. These points in the race right now, it doesn't matter that you might outdive a guy into the corner a couple of times and abuse, that can abuse the brakes. So he's saving that for when it really counts.
Harvick in 8th position. Behind him, the 96 car for Fellows in 9th spot. And back in the 17 car. There's Matt Kenseth, who had his troubles in the early part of the afternoon.
Matt just doesn't look like he's had a great handling car today. He's been struggling with this car the last couple of weeks. The old car, now the car tomorrow. It just doesn't have his rhythm right, Andy.
Yeah, but he's still up there in 11th spot. I mean, he can, that was typical Matt Kenseth. He can take a car that just looks mediocre in the middle of the race, and at the end of the race, he can look really good. So he's still up there, and he's hanging in there pretty good in, like I said, top 15.
And there's one guy you're not ever going to see me say anything negative about, because just about the time you do, he makes it up. Take a look at Boris Said making that pass on Jeff Burton, getting into one. That was a road racing way to do it.
And he did it on the brakes. And that's one thing that he didn't have. Boris Said doesn't have the luxury of saving his brakes. He started way back in the field, and he's got to make these kind of moves to get up front. You can see him just duck way out of line with these guys, and you see that front end dive down when he hits the brakes and basically drives by two of these guys.
If you just joined our coverage, the 21 car was to be driven by Bill Elliott. And Bill Elliott offered Boris Said, the road racing expert, a chance to get in the car because qualifying was washed away, and Said didn't get to qualify the car he wanted to. Knowing that Boris Said drives these tracks very well, finished 9th at Infineon early in the year. They put him in the car, and now Boris is trying to pay off that generosity by driving this car toward the front. Mike?
And Doc, anytime you put Boris Said in a car at a place like this, you've got a chance at winning. But to do that, you need to be aggressive. And that's where the quandary is for the Wood Brothers team right now. They're 37th in owners' points, so they're kind of on a balancing act, whether to be aggressive and go for the win or be a little bit conservative and pay attention to the points they need to gather. They need to bring this car back in one piece. I spoke with Fatback McSwain this morning, and he said that it's his job to remind Boris throughout the afternoon of the big picture. He said if we wreck, we're in big trouble.
Oh, absolutely. The big picture is definitely the points. And Boris knows that the problems he can get himself into is getting off in the inner loop and get stuck in a gravel trap, or getting off in turn 10 and getting stuck in that gravel trap also. You see a little bit of it right now as these cars are coming through the inner loop.
Jeff Gordon began this day as the pole sitter because he was atop the point standings. They started by owners' points. Gordon holding off Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, and Kurt Busch. Jeff Gordon, a 4-time winner at Watkins Glen, trying to pick up win number 5 here today.
NASCAR Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen, brought to you by Sprint, featuring NASCAR Nextel Cup Series updates at Sprint Speed. Can-Am, the ultimate ride. And Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history, an American revolution. Just 5 races to go before the chase for the Nextel Cup is set. Every lap, every move is so important. And as of right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has moved back ahead of Kurt Busch for that all-important 12th spot.
You know what, Susie? That race between those two is going to go down to the last race before the chase. I mean, they're going back and forth. Junior's in second, but Kurt Busch is just in 4th place. So it's going to be a fight until they get to the chase. Also, notice Montoya in that Mirage. He is coming up. He's moved up 2 positions. This could be a huge day for him.
Let's go back up to Doc and give it our 4th caution of the day.
Exactly, Susie. Yellow flag waving again here with 38 laps to go. Reed Sorensen, the 41 car. We were just talking a moment ago about the fact that the 41 car has spun and that he had not been on pit road since lap 16, was getting ready to come in another lap. He was actually coming in next time by.
Right now the 41's at the bottom of the track. He can't get it refired. He's all stuck back there. That won't fire back up. We saw a lot of smoke up off of turn 11. It was Jimmy Johnson. He had an encounter down there.
It was right as the caution came out that Jimmy Johnson spun out. The 41 car just wouldn't restart. And I think that's why they put the caution out.
Here's the 48 car down and exiting turn 10. Now watch him headed into turn 11 as the caution's getting ready to wave.
Keep on digging. You got a car sitting at caution's out. Come on.
That's the same incident we saw with the other cars earlier. Juan Montoya gets underneath of him. Jimmy doesn't know he's there, comes across. You kind of blame it on both of those guys. Now let's take a look at the 41 car now. He gets into turn 1. He's on the outside of the course. Oh, he gets loose. He spins. And now the problem here, he can't get it refired. He's stuck down there at the bottom of the racetrack in turn 1, and it won't start. Dave?
Well, Rusty, right before this, they were planning to pit. They were a couple laps away from that. That was going to be their strategy. They'd be good to go to the end till fuel, and maybe would have been the first ones to pit. But just before he came down the cross the start-finish line, going into that turn, Reed radioed he thinks he has a tire going down, and that's probably what caused him to spin. They were going to pit the next lap then, of course, to take care of the flat tire situation.
And the big problem here is how low he was on fuel. And when he spun the car out, it probably would not pick up the little bit of fuel he had in the tank. And you can see how hard it was for him to get started. He's got maybe just enough here to get him back to the pits.
You had mentioned earlier that Jimmy Elliott, the crew chief on the 41 car, had rolled the dice and pitted at lap 16. They were going to come back in on lap 53 and make their final stop. He just couldn't quite get back there as he went off in turn 1. Now the pits will be open this time. And pit guys could be very, very busy because obviously from here, it looks like they're home free on fuel.
Yeah, they can make it. A lot of guys can make it here, and it's not a no-brainer for a lot of teams, though. It's 38 laps to go, and this is going to put it just on the edge. And if you get a lot of caution laps, it'll help everybody. But if we don't, not many people can make 38 green flag laps.
One of the guys on the move, like we talked earlier, Boris said he's up to 12th position right now. The said heads are probably standing up in the grandstands going crazy because their man has been marching to the front the whole race.
Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Remember the all-important transfer spot in the race to the chase. There's the said heads on their feet. Boris said supporters loving the fact that he's got a great personality and incredible talent. There they are, big Boris fans. Waiting for the 21 car to come down and make his pit stop. Boris has driven all the way from 39th starting spot up to 12th right now. Pace car will come by. The pits will be open. See the green flag waving there on pit road. Jeff Gordon's going to come in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. They will all follow suit. Dave?
Pit, 4 tires and gas. That's the call from Pat Trison. In the rear tires, they want a little less air pressure. That'll give Kurt Busch more grip on this track. They will change all 4. That'll set them up for a pit stop at the end for fuel if they have to get a splash, where they won't have to change tires at all. If they make it to the end here on fuel, that'll need a lot of cautions. Jamie?
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. makes his way on down pit road. The car has been great, as we've heard. We've documented over the radio. 4 tires and fuel on that last stop on lap 24. They made a very small air pressure adjustment. It made a huge difference. He jumped up about 4 starts. Dale Earnhardt Jr. great stop, and he's out. Alan?
Key man on this stop, Caleb Hurd, holding that big Sunoco gas can on Jeff Gordon's car. And the catch can man, Jamie Brady, trying to pack the car. There is Gordon away. Might have held the lead on Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's going to be close, but boy, they need every drop of that gasoline they can get in the car.
Oh, so close on that race off of pit road as Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get there. Who got there? It looks like Gordon gets the spot just by about 1.5 feet over Dale Earnhardt Jr. Great pit work. The 42 car rear tire changer, Rich Red Macco, getting it done. He's a Syracuse native trying to get it done in front of the New York fans. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Green flag waving a moment ago. Bobby Labonte driving for the King. Richard Petty is leading here after pit stops. Bobby Labonte has not been on pit road since lap 29. Behind him, Jeremy Mayfield, who also didn't come in on this latest caution flag. And what a mess behind him here in the S's.
Well, these restarts are unreal. They're side by side. They're trying to get all the real estate they can. They're 3 wide now, getting down into the inner loop. And that's where you don't want to be 3 wide, that's for sure.
Tony Stewart's going to have to drive his guts out here to try to get back some of the track position he lost when he spun the car in turn 1.
We were listening to this crew earlier, Andy. You got it right there. He's got one choice, and that's it. And that's just throttle down, run qualifying laps every single lap, and you just hope that the brakes hold up.
You see the 12 car, he's hustling too. Ryan Newman is trying to hold off Tony Stewart. We saw him just digging up gravel earlier right through that turn right there. Turn 10.
With Tony, he's getting real aggressive. You see the back of the car jumping out on him. Going left to right, trying to get around Newman. Now he takes the inside lane.
I believe if I was Newman, I'd give it to him here and for spun me off the track.
Allen?
Hey, Rusty, here's a real dilemma that Tony Stewart's got. He knows he needs to drive his guts out to make up for that spin and get to the front, but if he's going to make the finish on fuel, he might have to take it a little easy for a little while. We'll be very interested to listen in on that team and see when they give Tony the complete green go-ahead that he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But all of these teams down here right now looking for caution flag laps to help save some fuel. What do? Go now for the positions or save the fuel now and go later?
Wayne, I know you're going to talk about the fuel in a minute, but one thing I just saw out there is that he went to pass Ryan Newman getting into turn 1, and he didn't have the confidence to drive it down in there deep and make the pass because he wheel hopped that thing last time. Now he's still trying to get around him, but you got that issue, and now you got the fuel.
And I think he's going to have to just drive. He's going to drive hard right now just because there's no way he's going to make it without a lot of caution laps anyway. And if he's not in the position, he's got to be in the top 5 to really have a chance to win this race. And he's going to have to race hard to get up to that top 5 spot.
Is there a way he can save fuel, Rusty? I mean, he's back there in traffic trying to pass cars. I mean, how do you not use the throttle?
Well, Jerry, he's just got to not worry about fuel law right now. He's just got to drive his guts out. And if he gets in a position where, you know, there's no cars around him, he can save it, then he'll save it. But right now, he's just got to pass cars. You saw a little smoke out of Ryan Newman's right front wheel. These guys are all locking the tires up, and the efficiency of the brakes, they're just gone.
Everything was going Tony Stewart's way when he was out front. He could run real fast lap times, and now he's back here in this traffic. It's just almost impossible to run those lap times. Now Bobby Labonte's got the clean air, and you see he's just cruising out front. And when you've got that clean air and you're running out front by yourself, you can ease into those corners. You don't have to hammer on the brakes. You can just see how much harder Tony Stewart was driving his car right there around Ryan Newman than he was when he was leading.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. You see him in line right behind the 2 of Kurt Busch. And the 42 car, Juan Pablo, pretty wide.
He dumped it in a little bit deep, leaving the inner loop.
Any crap off that boy.
Well, it looks like he may have got a little bit of contact from the 11 car, Denny Hamlin.
Sounds as though that wasn't Juan Montoya's voice. That was maybe a crew. I think that was probably the spotter saying, don't take any crap off of him.
I think that was a spotter up there. These teams will use up to 3 spotters around this track because it's so long and it's so far around. So that's probably the guy that was up in the inner loop at the top of the track, the spotter that was spotting for
And that's the thing that NASCAR listens to. They say, don't let the spotters drive the cars. And so he was trying to coax his driver on, but, you know, they get together. I don't think they mean to do this, Jerry. They don't. I mean, this is going to happen out there.
I don't think you ever needed your spotter to fire you up, though, did you?
They need to slow me down a little bit. I was wide open. I had a great spotter. Earl Barvin was my spotter for a long time.
The 2 car in front of the 8. Now remember, that is the transfer position. Earlier in the race when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was running 2nd and 3rd in the top 3, he had taken the 12th spot away.
Well, now the 2 car just moved up in the 12th position, like you said, Jerry. And they're going to, I can't believe these guys are so tight in the points, they still can't get away from each other. Look at that bumper to bumper.
Our sprint speed lap shows you that Kurt Busch, last lap, 1:18.318. and the leader was just a hint faster.
It's like these 2 and 8 car teams are just glued together on the racetrack, and they're actually parked side by side in the garage area as well, because they are it's so close in points. They're right there beside each other.
Bobby Labonte on pit road in the Dodge for Richard Petty. Let's go down to the pits.
And Jerry, he knew he wasn't going to be there all that long. He was going to need some of this good fuel, which he gets right now. He did want them to tighten the car up just a little bit. That'll be done with air pressure for Bobby. He'll get 4 fresh tires, and he'll be back on his way. Good to go till the end, as Yaley is also on pit road.
With Bobby Labonte pitting, that will give Jeremy Mayfield the lead of this race. And as you see, Labonte trying to get up to speed. Big story this week on the 36 car of Mayfield. It was announced that Bill Davis Racing would be releasing him at the end of the year. He will not be coming back. And he did that so Jeremy could start looking now for an open ride. And obviously, it helps the driver a little bit to know early on in the year, but also it's I guess, bad news, Rusty, to know that you don't have a ride right now as of 08.
Well, I tell you, that's a sick feeling, Jerry. It really is. And I wish Jeremy all the best on that one. I guess one of the big questions is who's going to drive the 36 next year? There's not that many drivers, really, NASCAR next to a couple quality drivers that can get in that car and get it done.
Bill Davis said he's done all we've asked of him and more. And we've made crew changes, and Jeremy's done a great job. Right now, he's leading here at Watkins Glen. We welcome you back to Watkins Glen International, the storied road course here in the Finger Lakes region of central New York. We are inside the last 30 laps of this race. Jeff Gordon, who sat on the front row here, but by virtue of being the points leader, is our leader. Behind him is the 2 car of Kurt Busch, who won last week in Pocono and is battling for that all-important 12th position in the race to the chase.
See, all these guys up front are gambling on having some caution flag laps to be able to make it to the end of the race. They made their last pit stop with about 38 laps to go, and none of them can really run that far unless they have cautions. As Casey Mears spun the car around in turn 1.
And you're clear. There is no yellow because, remember, on a road course they can have local yellows. Dale Jarrett goes zipping by. Mears is trying to get back up to speed. Word is that Casey Mears might have gotten a little bit of a tap. Let's see.
I think Jeff Green dives in the corner really hard. Casey didn't think he was there, didn't know he was there.
Patrick Carpentier back on pit road, one of the leaders just a few laps ago. Mike?
And track position is the call for Patrick Carpentier. Fuel only, no tires.
Well, here's a car that can make it from here, 28 laps. These guys can make that. And if we don't get any caution flags, these guys up front are not going to make it on fuel. Now, that's a big if. I mean, we know we're going to have cautions before the end of the race.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. being shown now in 8th position, but the separation, or in 3rd position, the separation behind him is the 99 car, only a couple of car lengths back for Carl Edwards.
Yes, I tell you, the last 5 laps, the top 5 cars ran almost identical lap speeds. That was amazing how close they were. We got another spin, the 66 of Jeff Green is off in turn 1.
That's the same spot that he had contact with Casey Mears, and Casey spun the last lap. Now you see Casey sneaking right up in the picture behind Jeff Green. It's like the same situation reversed for Jeff Green. Now he's got Bobby Labonte inside of him. See that wheel hop? He locks those rear wheels up.
So Jeff Green knows what it feels like right now. They just swapped the favor back and forth. He got Casey spun out, now he got himself spun out, and that's what happened when you just get too aggressive getting into turn 1. Your spotter really needs to work with you and say, hey, the guys underneath you, you got to give them a little room.
We have spinners everywhere. The 07, Clint Boyer, the 12 of Ryan Newman, who brought out the first yellow of the day when he got in the gravel. And one car slowing down is the 8.
99, but
looks like he's got a real problem here.
Looks like they've lost an engine or something. He just said a needle said 99. Whatever he's referring to, 9,900 RPM.
Let's see what happened to the 8 car now. Entering turn 1, coming down the straightaway.
Got some debris in the inner loop. The caution's coming out.
It doesn't look like he's got anything, a wheel hop problem, nothing like that. He just lost an engine. The drive in that car has gone away, so we'll have to take a look and see what the failure actually was. But a huge loss in the points right now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Kurt Busch running in second place. He's going to take a big hit here, guys.
Earnhardt Jr. just opts to pull the car off. May not have any power at all. But we have caution for the 5th time today coming out here on lap 63.
Let's take a look at this. Getting down into turn 1, you see Clint Boyer getting in underneath Ryan Newman. And it looks like Clint got loose and actually slid up into Ryan Newman. They both go around. I don't see...
Third time we've seen cars sandwiching side by side entering turn 1, and just not enough room, and they're both trying to turn right. We end up getting a car to spin. The 8-car window net down. Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting ready to climb out. Let's check in with Jamie.
And I'm with this crew chief now, Tony Eury Jr., making the long walk back to the garage. Tony, what a day. Your weekend turned around, running second, and then all of a sudden you guys are done like that. What just happened?
It looks like the motor blowed up, you know, whether it was him overshifting it during the week or what have it. But, you know, all I can say is we've done a good job. We made the right decisions last night coming in because the car ain't been good all weekend, and we definitely had things turned around. But, you know, can't go in the chase like this. But, you know, all I can do is say, you know, my team runs the top 5 every week. I can't be happier. I mean, we make chase fine if we don't fine, you know, but it's been an awesome year, and I'm proud of Dale Jr. He drove his butt off today. And when you got that bad of a car and you can make decisions and turn the car around like that, it makes it worthwhile.
What is going on with the motor problem? Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about DEI for the year. Last week it was Martin Truex. It was you guys just a couple weeks ago. Is that something that's going on, or are these happenings, are they individual?
Each one of them is kind of unique, you know. You can't blame them. I mean, the motor shop, they got a lot on their shoulders going back and forth with Richard in this deal. But, you know, I think you can partly blame this mostly on us this time. But, you know, I can't complain. Them guys have been doing great. They give me awesome motors, and I look forward to going next week and try to win one for them.
All right, Doc, we'll try to catch up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as soon as he gets out.
Thank you, Jamie. 5th DNF of the year for the 8-car in Dale Earnhardt Jr., 4th of which related to engine problems here in 2007.
Well, one of the things that can happen is we heard him talking about the engine over-revving. And when you do that, if you let that engine over-rev, and they heard him say 9,900, you can break one of these valve springs. You see that right here in this animation where the valve spring breaks, and as they keep running, then what happens is you see this valve will actually tag the piston and get bent, and then the next event that happens is you run it just a little bit longer, and it'll break the head of that valve right off and just fall right down the engine, destroy the complete engine.
For more information on engine failure, log on to ESPN.com. Search word Autotech.
You know, I'm really interested. He said he lost oil pressure too, Andy. I wonder if he's had an oiling problem, a broken valve. But if you're going to over-rev, like you said, you're probably going to drop that valve.
That's the danger when you got these, you know, so many times you got to shift these cars. If you just happen to just get right between gears one time and let that engine over-rev, that can happen to you.
You know, we got another animation maybe we can show later on of what it actually looks like when you burn a bearing and you break a rod, and that could have happened too to this car.
At the beginning of the week, Tony Eury, who Jamie just spoke with a moment ago, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. talked about, we've just got to get by Watkins Glen. We got some really good racetracks coming up that we know we're going to be good on. Michigan, Bristol, some of these tracks, maybe we can get in this chase, but boy, the Gremlins got them today.
They were good here. Here's the 2-car, Kurt Busch in the pits. Now, you know what's happening right here, I think, is these guys are going to make sure they make the end of the race now on fuel. You got more on these guys, Dave?
That's exactly what Pat Tryson told me this morning, Andy. He said if you run out of gas, you finish in the 30s. I cannot afford that where we are in the chase right now. They will change 4 tires as well. He says, I'm not going to gamble on fuel mileage for a couple of positions on the racetrack. Chris Williams puts fuel in the car. His father, Steve, has the catch can. They've changed 4 tires. And with all that fuel, they'll make it to the end here, race to get as many positions as they can. But just think about it, Andy. You can't afford to finish way down when you're in position for the chase.
Well, the guy who's racing right now is out of the race, the 8-car, so it was a great call doing what he did.
Those are gallons of insurance that Kurt Busch was putting in the back of that car. Here are the points. Kurt Busch had a 7-point lead coming in. It will stretch out because Earnhardt Jr. is done for the day. This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by DirecTV. Getting set for the restart here. Just 25 laps to go. It'll be 24 this time by. And Jeff Gordon trying to stay up front and get win number 5 at Watkins Glen. The challenge may be coming from right behind him. Whoa, it does come on the brakes hard. Here comes Carl Edwards.
Turn 1's been the hot spot.
Bobby Labonte sliding by. Harry Labonte onboard camera there in the Toyota, and Gordon trying to hold off the 99 and 11 at the inner loop.
Yeah, but take a look who's back in the hunt. Tony Stewart up in 4th right now. He was way back in the pack with that problem, sliding off in turn 1, and now he's kind of back in the hunt. So, hey, this race is not over, that's for sure. But Denny Hamlin's been stalking Carl Edwards for a long time now.
Looks like he's got position on him coming into the left-hand turn.
Ooh, that's a tough turn. Turn 10, that's where a lot of drivers have been going off the track in that gravel pit.
Hamlin pulled off a beautiful pass right there on Carl Edwards.
Jeff Gordon leads here with 24 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the garage area. Jamie Little's caught up with him.
He sure is. Very disappointing day when things were running pretty well. You were racing up there into 2nd, but what happened, Junior?
We broke the motor. Probably just some of the downshifts this weekend. Motor doesn't like to turn over 10-3, so we did that a couple times during practice. During the race, we were doing good on our downshifts, but I had a ill handling car during practice, and the downshifts were real bad, trying to slow the car down with the brake, and we might have beat up on the motor too much. You know, we had a good car, and we had a great engine up to that point, and so it sounds like it's still an exciting race. So, you know, I hate I'm not in it. We've had a good run going.
All right, guys. Well, he has a smile on his face. 4 races remaining in the race for the chase. We have yet to see if Junior will jump up into that coveted top 12 spot. Doc?
Guys off the course in the grass. Denny Hamlin was off. Then Tony Stewart was off. Great racing there for 2nd position. And now the caution flag waves here with 23 laps to go.
I'll tell you, that inner loop, they were off, running through their shortcut. That Tony Stewart is on the throttle trying to get that 20 car back up front where it's been all day long. And he was driving that thing like it was a bulldozer, man. He was plowing
all those guys.
There.
All of them are driving hard. I think this caution's for them to get their breath. They're racing so hard.
Listen to those fans cheering and standing and applauding. They watched. They could see on the big screens what was happening over there in the inner loop. These guys were just back and forth, and first Stewart's in the grass, then Hamlin's in the grass.
See, Jeff Gordon gets through no problem, and Tony Stewart right on the back of Denny Hamlin makes a left turn. They both go through the grass.
All 3 of them.
They're all through there, and Stewart never lifts.
Then here comes Edwards. He runs off on the other side.
And they both like running dirt tracks, so maybe that's what they're doing, because Stewart's one of the best in the world at dirt track. Let's watch this. Contact in the right rear quarter panel was Edwards and Stewart. Stewart stays in the throttle. And Tony's got much more momentum. Let's watch this. Tony could tell he wasn't going to make it. And now the lever car is slowing. Tony's got the momentum. Puts him on the outside and says, stay in the throttle. Don't lift. Maybe I can race him down into turn 10. Side by side. Now Tony's got the edge, and the caution's going to fly right here.
Carl Edwards has got to be saying, do you guys not know this place is paved? There is asphalt out here. You guys don't need the grass. Caution out for the 6th time today. And here's the reason, the 45 car of Kyle Petty.
Kyle Petty had been in the garage area for a number of laps, and look, oh, this is a big engine failure here. See all that fire, probably oil getting down on the headers, coming out of the engine. Oh yeah, you can see the 15 of Paul Menard may have gotten in some of that oil.
So we've got caution flags all over the place, and maybe you're right, Andy. Maybe the reason that caution did fly is for everybody can grab their breath. I've even lost my breath trying to talk about what's happened out there, but everybody needed to catch their breath on that one.
If you just joined our coverage as you watch Kyle Petty head back to the garage area, it was back on lap 44 that Tony Stewart, who was leading the race, went flying into turn 1, went off the racetrack and went all the way back to 19th position. Now, that was 24 laps ago. He has driven this car all the way back to 3rd, and I got to believe in the next 4 or 5 laps he's going to try to get back to 1st. We'll find out if he can do it when we come back in a moment. Back at Watkins Glen under caution for the 6th time today. Let's check out our Allstate Good Hands move of the race on behalf of Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart. Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban Youth Racing School.
We take a look at this. Tony Stewart goes through the grass. Denny Hamlin goes through the grass. Tony Stewart stays on the throttle and starts picking up momentum on the 11 car Denny Hamlin. It's a drag race off at turn 9 down into turn 10. And that was one smooth move on both of those guys' parts.
These are Joe Gibbs Racing teammates, both driving for the same team. And here's the radio chatter after that incident a moment ago.
Hey, Tony. Hey, man. Thanks for that help down the backstretch, bro. That's what I'm here for, brother. Keep digging. Yeah, it's a long way to go. A little too far. Well, it makes me feel any better. I went a little bit too far further than you did. Did you end up in the grass, too? I couldn't even see the asphalt from where I was. 10-4. All right, let's get going here. Copy that.
Well, what those guys did just then was build confidence in each other. They can race each other. They know they got 2 good cars, and that just kind of calmed both drivers down a little bit. It made them work together with each other.
One thing I see Tony doing inside this car is I saw him shut the engine completely off going down this hill trying to save fuel. These guys were coasting down that hill, and I saw him reach up while that radio chatter was going on, and I saw him flip that switch down and cut the motor completely off.
Jeff Gordon is the leader now. He has to have some concerns as well on fuel mileage. Alan?
Well, let's talk to his crew chief, Jeff Mendering. Jeff, fuel to the finish. I know you're counting caution laps. Have you had enough yet where you can make it?
No, we're still a little bit short, I think. We're definitely going to be pushing this really tight. But we're in the points position. We can do that right now. So we'll keep our fingers crossed here. I think we're just going to hope for the best.
I know you've been watching that orange car come back through the traffic behind you as well. What's Jeff said about his car in relation to Tony's, or has he said anything?
He hasn't said a whole lot about Tony. He's definitely fast at the beginning of the race. We're all watching him from in here. A little concerned about him. We're thinking he's probably close to the same field situation that we're in, so we'll see what happens.
All right, thanks for the time. Jeff Mendering, the interim crew chief on this 2014 for Jeff Gordon. He and Jeff just discussing the fact that they're going to get an extra lap or so of caution here because NASCAR's got to blow some oil dry and some other bits and pieces off the track. They'll take all of them they can get, Doc.
And Alan, by the way, the crew chief suspensions for Steve Letarte and Chad Canals end as of August 15th, so those guys will be able to come back and challenge everybody on pit road. And speaking of our crew chief challenge, let's reveal the results of our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge survey. Which NASCAR road course is the most challenging? Any surprises there, guys? Watkins Glen. How tough is this place? It's fast, it's tough, and you can beat and bang, and you end up in the grass, just like Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin. The green flag will wave when we come back.
NASCAR Next Cup at Watkins Glen International with 20 laps to go. It has been a wild ride. Under caution once again, let's take you back in our McDonald's race rundown. Jeff Gordon, our points leader, the pole sitter, the 4-time winner here, seemed to be in control most of the day.
He got out early, led the first lap, and looked very strong early. Had a powerful race car, did what he had to do to get a few bonus points early.
Gordon and Tony Stewart have won 7 of the last 10 races here, and Stewart took the lead from Gordon for the first time on lap 13.
Tony really showed his ability when he took the lead from Jeff. Just drove right up on him, drove right past him. He too pulled out to a long extended lead, had a good run out front.
But a crucial mistake for Stewart on lap 44, spins out and dropped him to 19th.
Came down in turn 1. You see this a lot in turn 1. Started the wheel hop, lost control, and lost a lot of positions, but he's fought his way back.
Fought his way back all the way up to 3rd right now. And then on lap 63, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was running in 3rd. Another blown engine.
Yeah, it's the second time in the last 4 races we've seen engine failure from that DEI race car. So this could be a telltale sign trying to get into the chase.
Killer in terms of timing for Dale Earnhardt Jr. As for Jeff Gordon, 6 years ago today was the last time Gordon won here. was also the last time he won the championship, so it seems like all the stars are aligning for Gordon, and if he finishes 10th or better, if he can hold on with the fuel situation, he can pretty much sit home with Ella and Ingrid the rest of the way and still make the chase.
I think you may be right.
Doc, just 19 laps to go.
Susie, 38 cars are still on the lead lap. So if you gamble, remember the 24 car, you heard Alan talking a moment ago, is very close on fuel. If you gamble and don't make it, you can go from first to worst in a hurry. How much can they afford to take that risk?
This is the hardest track to try to take any chances on, because if you, like I say, you slip off the racetrack on the last lap and go from first to 38th if there's 38 cars on the lead lap. So that's what makes this track so tough.
The points as of now, after 21 events, this is race 22 of 36. Jeff Gordon, a comfortable lead over Denny Hamlin. You see that Jimmy Johnson had moved up a couple of spots. Dale Earnhardt came in here in 13th position, just 7 points back of Kurt Busch, but by virtue of the lost engine, he will fall further behind. Busch now hanging on to the 12th position. Ryan Newman, who was 90 back, now shows 60 back in 14th position.
Nobody should be freaking out right now. Dale Jr. can get this thing back, and Ryan Newman might even get in. There's a lot of racing left yet before they get to Richmond, guys.
The last time the Nextel Cup cars were on a road course at Infineon Raceway back in June, a lot of the leaders up front ran out of fuel within 2 laps of the checkered flag. The guys who were led quite a bit of the day, Robbie Gordon was one of them, Jamie McMurray was one of them. These guys gambled and didn't make it out there, and Juan Pablo was able to get the win.
You're going to see some of the same things happen here because these guys haven't had enough caution laps. A lot of them hadn't had enough caution laps to be safe on their fuel.
We're hearing that Matt Kenseth's got some damage on his car. We'll try to get that in a minute and get a look at that. I want to see how bad that really is and see if it's going to affect the way his car can handle.
When the caution came out here on lap 67, the 15 car of Paul Menard spun. Kenseth hit him with the front of this car. That's where the damage came.
Well, the splitter is bent up. It's not broke off. It's bent up, which is not going to help the downforce. But I don't really think it's going to hurt it. Well, yeah, it is. Now, the right front fender, the left front, yeah. So he's got an aerodynamic issue, that's for sure, and it should.
Yeah, he's had some contact from both sides. You see the door, the skirts, the front end of the car. He's been in the battle.
Let's take a look at where this might have happened here. He's coming off of turn 1 down into the beginning of the S's.
Where Paul Menard spun, you can see Matt get right into the side of Paul.
You want to ask how tough a splitter is, man. He just T-boned that guy, and that's all he did was just bend that splitter a little bit. Folks, if you see the bumper bars behind the nose of these cars, they're incredibly strong. Before this race ends, we'll try to show you that. Dave?
And Rusty, Jamie McMurray, who was right behind Matt, then pulled in front or to the side and took a look at that, radioed back to the 17 crew. I think it's okay, and they decided not to jump down pit road and fix that.
If he came down pit road, like you said, there's 38, 39 cars on the lead lap. He'd lose too much.
Green flag waves again here at Watkins Glen. Just 18 laps to go as Jeff Gordon will lead him down here. Denny Hamlin, Juan Pablo Montoya all the way across the racetrack.
Oh, I saw that one coming. Truex gave the 42 of Montoya a shot.
Oh, he gets hit by Jeff Burton in the left front.
Yes, that's my fault. Told him to send it.
The 29 car, Kevin Harvick, has heavy damage. Burton has damage. 2 of the Richard Childress cars are running in the top 12, are sitting parked in turn 1.
Now, Harvick's really mad at Montoya right now. He's parked in front of him. He's not going to let him move. They both got an issue.
Well, Kevin Harvick doesn't know exactly what happened here. He knows he got contact.
Well, he knows exactly what happened. He didn't pull in front of him just to stop there. That's what happened. He's mad.
There's some other things that happened here.
Let's see if they're going to fight. I want to see this. All right.
Montoya is upset. Harvick is not a guy you want to mess with.
Both batteries.
What are you doing? Watch this. Oh, here we go.
He's over there and got in his face. He's out of the car.
Neither one of these guys are happy here.
Harvick saying, no, stop it. Stop it. Montoya's instigating this thing now.
Montoya keeps pushing him, and Harvick's not a guy you want to push too many times.
Well, to be fair, Harvick is the one that walked over to Montoya.
Jeff Burton, Harvick's teammate, gets out of the car, helmet off, trying to get his teammate away. Tempers flaring here on a restart with 18 laps to go, and 3 of the contenders are out of it.
And what neither one of them probably know, the whole thing started when Martin Truex, 42 car, Juan Pablo, was defending his position, trying to block the 1 car, Martin Truex. They both got together. Juan got sideways, and this whole issue started.
Joe was still on the lead lap. Did you hear me, Juan?
After all that, Juan Pablo is still on the lead lap.
Donnie Wingo, the crew chief, warning him to get back in the car and get back up, catch up with the pack, because here come the leaders by. Let's show you again. Here's what happened on the restart with 18 laps to go.
Take a look at Martin Truex. Gets in the back of Juan, gets him all sideways, gets him sliding, rear and gets on it, gets into Harvick. Montoya didn't do that on purpose for sure.
And that's what I was talking about. Harvick didn't realize all this had happened. All he knows is he got contact from Montoya. Montoya's got some problems with his car. He's had some hard contact here from 31 car Jeff Burton.
Harvick probably just thinks that Montoya just drove it in there right into the side of him, and realized he got tapped from behind.
Things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah, see, Harvick, he didn't even see that one coming, but he has no idea that Juan Pablo didn't do that on purpose. He just thinks he got taken out from the backside, and they're both out. See? When Kevin goes back and sees this whole replay, he'll understand exactly what went down on this.
Spin in front of you. Stay low, stay low, stay low. Go in the middle.
Harvick is probably wondering why in the world you would drive it in like that inside of me. And Juan Pablo is saying, why are you in my face? I didn't have any control over what happened. Juan Pablo Montoya.
Montoya, his crew doesn't know that Montoya's car is broke. We saw Juan Pablo Montoya stick it in gear and the car won't go. There's something broken in the transmission, and the crew doesn't know that.
Yeah, we saw him trying to get the car. When he's trying to stay on the lead lap there, as he got rolling, something was wrong. The car just wouldn't go. They probably don't realize just how hard of a wreck that was when Jeff Burton hit the side of the car.
Spotters over on the backstretch now have told the crew that Juan Pablo is out of the car and has taken the helmet off, and they're going to go back to the garage area. We had just commented on the fact that there were 38 cars on the lead lap, and you can go from first to worst. These guys were all in the top 12.
We saw Juan Montoya pull down way to the right side of the racetrack, and he was just trying to protect that inside. That was a hard lick for Jeff Burton.
There's a lot of cars got taken out of that one. We just saw Jamie McMurray come by. He's got damage to his car. He's in the garage. We'll talk to him, but these two drivers have no idea what's going on here. Now, why Montoya is shoving Harvick? I think Harvick's mad at him, but if Juan could probably tell Harvick that he got hit from behind and got sideways and got into him, trying to explain it, but tempers are flaring.
You can see him actually pointing there like he got hit.
Yeah.
Looks like Harvick wasn't buying it.
The cars involved. Jeff Burton, by the way, was 4th in the point standings coming in, and the big key is Kevin Harvick was 9th in the points. With only 4 races left between now and the race of the chase, this could be a huge blow to Kevin Harvick. Juan Pablo Montoya out of his car, headed back to the garage.
NASCAR Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen, brought to you by Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar, eating good in the neighborhood. And Sprint, featuring in NASCAR Nextel Cup Series updates at Sprint Speed. And back here at Watkins Glen, it's been a wild ride, under caution again for the 7th time, and this time a massive pileup, probably the worst damage done for Kevin Harvick, not just on the track but in the points race as well.
Yeah, he's going to take a shot in the points, and those guys both were on the lead lap up near the front of the race, and you hate to see him get taken out like that, but it was just an incident, and it happens, and they've just got to go on. There's some great opportunities, though, for some guys. You see Ron Fellows moves into 10th position. He can take advantage of that. He's a great road racer. Look for him to come to the top.
Yeah, some of those road course ringers really doing their job today.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. All of them, Boris said, run well. Ron Fellows has done a great job. So these guys are hanging around, and the attrition's starting to take place.
Yeah, as you see the Shell Pennzoil Chevy team feverishly working on that car, but there was some pretty heavy damage.
There's some pretty heavy damage, unfortunately for Kevin Harvick, but he'll bounce back.
Doc?
This is the race to the chase actually taking place in the garage area right now. Andy, you've been there a lot of times. You're trying to do everything you can to get this car back on the racetrack. You got to save some points.
Yeah, they can save quite a few spots if they can get back out on the racetrack.
Let's take a look. You see Juan Pablo go over and block off the one car. One car gives him a shot in the back of the rear, gets them all sideways. Now Harvick was way ahead of this. Montoya slides into Harvick because he's dead sideways already. And they got the track blocked, and everybody's going to crash now. McMurray got it. 42 got it. 31 and Jeff Burton got it.
Cars contacting each other, tempers flaring. Harvick didn't know what happened with Montoya. Montoya didn't know why Harvick was so mad. They get face to face in turn one and agree to disagree. Green flag when we come back. Back at Watkins Glen, pulling the cars that were damaged back in the garage area. Let's go down there with Mike Massaro standing by with Kevin Harvick.
And Doc catching up with a very upset Kevin Harvick right now, and you can tell by what we saw on video that you were not very happy with Juan Pablo Montoya. What was your interpretation of what happened?
Well, my interpretation was you just got run over. I guess the one ran over the 42, but you know, it's one of those things where our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was really good there at the end, and just it felt like we'd saved our car enough to have a chance to win there, and it all just goes up in smoke because you know, some people get impatient. But just hate it, frustrated with 42. Just seems like he runs over somebody every week.
It seems like emotions did escalate a little bit there. What were you guys talking about?
I was talking about kicking his ass because that's how I felt about it.
Obviously, guys, Kevin Harvick very upset, coming in near the bubble here in this chase for the championship. Jamie?
And Doc, and Mike, we've caught up with Juan Pablo Montoya. So Juan, how did that contact happen from the get-go?
Well, you know, we had a very long first gear, and our restarts were always slow, and it's a little disappointing because, you know, we had a really fast car, so I went for the inside to defend the one car, and he pumped me. He just hit me behind on the braking, and he spun me, and when he spun me, I collected the 29, and, you know, I got out of the car, so the car was completely trashed, and I went to Kevin and said, you know, it wasn't my fault. I got hit from behind, and he's, you know, he started shouting and grabbing me, and I don't appreciate that, you know. If it would have been my fault, I would go and say, you know, of course it's my fault. And he starts saying all kinds of things, and I don't appreciate that, you know. I have a lot of respect for the guy who I used to have a lot of respect for a guy like that, because he helped me a lot to start with, and I tried to tell him, dude, if it was my fault, I'd appreciate, you know, I'll say sorry, but when it's not even my fault, don't come and push me around like I'm a, you know, anybody.
That's Juan Pablo Montoya, guys, the rookie in the Cup Series, his first confrontation. Let's go to Dave.
And with car owner now, Chip Ganassi, and he had a chance to watch the two drivers and to listen to their comments. They were both trying to handle themselves very well, Chip, it looked like, but they were obviously angry.
Well, you know, Kevin was a big help to Juan when he came over. I know they're big fans of each other, and I'm sure they will be. And obviously down there in turn one, they didn't understand what really started the whole incident, and so that was unfortunate. But you know, I think everybody said what happened, and you know, it's pretty obvious when you look at the video what happened. And you know, unfortunately, you know, we got popped from behind, and Kevin, it was no fault of his, he got caught up in it. So it's unfortunate for both our team and the Childress team, and you know, we'll have to go on the next week, I guess.
Chip, I was interested to hear Juan Pablo talk about that long first gear. Is that a driver choice in terms of the comfort level and how he wants to get on off pit road and run the slow corners? And do you think you might work with him to do it any differently next time and give him better restarts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's his first time here, and you know, he liked that gear better on the track than he did obviously getting out of the pits or on the restarts, but we thought we could live with it. And I mean, obviously, you know, you look back and you say, well, relative to everybody else, you might make a different choice next time. But you know, we were perfectly happy with how our car was running, and just, you know, albeit for all the restarts.
Okay, thanks, Chip. Sports car owner and NASCAR owner Chip Ganassi and Juan Pablo and he will be able to chat about this later on, Doc.
Thank you, Dave and Jamie. The cars are stopped on the racetrack. They have red flagged this race momentarily to try to get the complete cleanup done down in turns one. There was lots of oil and fluids on the racetrack, and that's a key braking zone. They didn't want to have these cars go through there and have any kind of liquid at all there and have guys go sliding off. Now, Kevin Harvick obviously believes, and he just knows he saw the 42 car come across his nose and was wondering exactly what happened. I got to believe he got out of the car and said, hey, guys, you just took me out. I was real close to being in this chase, and now I'm going to have to wonder if I can stay in here.
Well, Jerry, it seems like he's still mad. He's still upset. You see Felix Sabates, the owner of the 42 car of Juan Pablo, explaining what happened. And this is a good thing right now because everybody's starting to calm down. They're going, when they see the videos, they're going to understand exactly what happened. And so Felix is really good at calming these guys down. And you see Kevin's okay with it. But obviously a major problem down in turn 1. But what this does do now, it lets all these drivers breathe a little bit, calm down, refocus yourself. They got 15 laps to go. Mike?
Yeah, and Jeff Burton was the peacemaker in the situation, breaking things up over there, but you got a bad part of it yourself with your car. What'd you see happen?
Well, I just saw the 42 get into the 29. On the replay, I saw what happened. The 42 was trying to block the 1, and the 1 got in the back of the 42, and then it all went downhill from there. So, and then the 42, I thought we were clear, but he didn't hold the brakes. He let his foot off the brake and let the car roll back across the racetrack, and we had nowhere to go. So pretty disappointing. We didn't run very good today, but we were going to salvage the top 10 out of it, and instead we'll get 40th or whatever.
You did say before this race, you said that over the last 3 months you felt like there was rooms for improvement, that you weren't running poor, but you weren't running great either. With this finish now, how do you look at things? I mean, you came in with a pretty solid points position, but things will change now.
Well, we go to the racetrack every week, trying to do the best we can do. That's all we can do. We don't. I'm not going to get caught up in the points. I didn't get caught up in them last year when we were leading the points with 4 or 5 to go. I didn't get caught up in them then, and I'm not going to get caught up in them now. We're going to go to the racetrack and do our business and keep our nose to the grindstone, so to speak, and try to build better cars and me try to do a better job driving. The situation doesn't change the way that we are going to try to prepare ourselves as a race team.
That's Chip Burton, guys.
The 3 drivers involved in the incident, Juan Pablo Montoya, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Burton, finished 1, 2, 3 at Infineon Raceway back in June. And they will finish at the back of the pack as of right now, 37th, 38th, and 39th. Juan Pablo Montoya got his car refired, but it just wouldn't go anywhere. He jumps out of the car frustrated, and they had to pull his car back to the garage. Back with Watkins Glen in just a moment. Back at Watkins Glen International, we are under a red flag condition as of right now. 15 laps to go, 75 in the books. A big incident in turn 1 involving 3 key players, and just a moment ago, here's what's happened. A fan somehow gets out of the infield area, comes out on the track, and is trying to get Matt Kenseth's autograph.
Oh, do you think alcohol had anything at all to do with that? Oh my God. Kenseth is going, you're not going to believe what just happened here, guys. He jumps over the guardrail, runs back up, and then gets apprehended here.
Yeah, he might get a free ride home.
Let's check in where Mike is caught up with Richard Childress.
And believe it or not, Doc, that video brought a smile to Richard Childress' face, but obviously reason to be disappointed. What was your take on what just happened?
Well, I mean, Pablo just went blasting off in there, and, he was blocking the 1. He wasn't going to make it if he hadn't been blocking the 1. So, that's racing. Stuff happens. We'll come back next week. Got a lot of racing left, and we'll just go do our best. I hate it for Jeff and for Kevin. Kevin was sitting there. I think we still had a legitimate shot of winning the race because we had never pushed the car real hard.
And Kevin still has not locked up a chase position just yet, and there's 4 races now after this one remaining in the regular season. With this finish, where does it put this team?
Well, I mean, you got every week's important to all the teams. It's about 15 teams right there, and anywhere from 5th, 6th place back, you're going to have to do your best every week, and we're not done for. We'll be back.
And I can see you're assessing the damage here under red flag conditions. How much work do you think you need to do to get this thing back out there, if you can get this thing back out there?
These guys, the Shell Pennzoil guys, will get it out. It's just a shame this happened.
Can't say it any better than that. Just a shame this happened. Dave?
And Mike caught up with Robbie Reiser, crew chief for Matt Kenseth, recipient of a fan's hat there, I believe, for an autograph. Have you ever seen anything like that in a red flag?
Oh, we've seen a lot of weird things. That's the first time that's happened in our car, I think. But Matt and all the guys there got a good laugh out of it. So, now Biffle and him are going back and forth on the radio talking about it. So it's pretty funny.
Shared experiences out here. To your race car, you did get some damage on one of these conflagrations here. Is it good enough to go to the end?
Well, I hope so. We ain't going to fix it, so it's going to have to be good enough to get there. Struggled with this thing all day long, but, the DeWalt guys have done a great job keeping it up there, and Matt's done a good job driving it, so hopefully he can come out of here with something.
All right, thanks, Robbie. And, by the way, he said, hey, nothing against that fan. Got to have a sense of humor when you race in NASCAR. Jerry?
And Dave, one of the reasons that NASCAR is so popular is that these drivers are accessible. That may be a little bit too accessible on the racetrack. Let's listen into the radio.
Hi, Robbie. Jumped over the fence. Goes running down there. Jumped over the race fence. Climbs in the right side window of my car and hands me a hat and a Sharpie and says, "Will you sign this?" I'm like, "I'm a little busy right now, buddy." He's like, "Come on, man. Have the balls." And I'm like, "Come on. I'm a little busy here." And all comes trucks, cars, everybody come running from everywhere.
Does that ever happen to you, Rusty? Anybody ever
no,
come
that's
to you?
never happened to me. That's just amazing. And they'll think about that, laugh about that for a long time. Monday morning, when he said Monday afternoon, these guys all go to lunch. That'll be the story at lunch, that's for sure.
Let's check in where Jamie is caught up with Martin Truex, crew chief on pit road. Jamie?
Yes, and we're all down here watching and listening and laughing about that incident too. But, you know, we hadn't heard from Martin Truex's side because we saw your cars get into it. So, Kevin Mannion, your take on what just happened?
Well, it happened right in front of us here. The Tracker Boat Chevrolet has been running really good today. We're off just a little bit, but holding our own, had a good pit strategy. And, you know, it looked like Martin got a pretty good jump on the 42 car, and he kind of come across his nose. And I think it was just hard racing down in the corner. And he said it thought like the 42 started wheel hopping, and they kind of just gave him a shove and kind of shoved him into the corner. You know, it was off of him, and you know, then the 29 really had nowhere to go, and they just kind of touched. So, you know, a racing incident. Martin is never that guy that would mean to do that on purpose. And you know, if history shows, you look back, he's a pretty clean race car driver.
You said it kind of took the heat off you guys. You're sitting 6th right now. This thing shakes down at the end. Can you make it to the finish line first?
Oh yeah, no, Al. I'd love to say yes, but you know, we made an adjustment there, and he said it was about halfway. We need to go about halfway, a little bit more to get it right, you know. So we made a change from happy hour yesterday, and it probably just hurt it a little bit too much on the forward bite on the right side. But got really happy with the performance today. Really good pit stops. Like I said, the engine shop has done a great job with the engines and the carburetors. The carburetor shop and our fuel mileage was really good today. We struggled at Sonoma with that, so hats off to them.
All right, Martin Truex Jr. been sitting comfortably in that 11th spot in the points. We'll see if he can hold it on to the end. Let's go over to Alan.
With Tony Stewart's crew chief Greg Zipadelli sitting now 3rd on this red flag, waiting for the restart. Zippy, let's talk about your race. First of all, you've had to run hard to come back from that spin earlier. Has it hurt your fuel mileage and ability to get to the finish, and your race car's ability to get to the front in these final laps?
Yeah, the Home Depot paddle's been really good all day. We got ourselves behind there when we spun getting into one. He's done a great job battling back up there. Like I said, we've had a really good car off the truck. So I know, keep my fingers crossed so we can finish this thing under green, and we might have a shot at it. Our fuel mileage has been really good. We were hoping that we weren't going to get any yellows, because I think the guys in front of us, they were a little closer than we were. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed, and you know, hopefully we got something.
Has Tony said anything on the radio sizing up the guys in front of you? One of them's your teammate, the other's Jeff Gordon.
No. They're both doing a good job. They both got really good race cars. You know, this is a time of day where you really want that track position, and we gave it up halfway through, and you know, we had it. So we got to work really hard to get it back. So you know, proud of everybody for again another strong rally, regardless of where we end up. But we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we really felt like we had a car capable of winning this thing today, and still think we got a shot at it.
All right, thanks for the time. Good luck in the final 15 laps. Dave?
Alan, Pat Tryson had the difficult decision to bring Kurt Busch down pit road to make sure they were good to fuel on the end, but you were a man of your word this morning. You told me you wouldn't trade a couple of spots on the track and run out of gas, and that's indeed what you had to do, just get that gas.
Yeah, we weren't getting good enough mileage to make it from there. As a matter of fact, even with all these caution laps, we're still short as far as if we hadn't pitted. So, you know, it just puts us in a difficult situation, but, you know, especially with the 8 having a problem, it was kind of almost a no-brainer for us as far as points go. It just, you know, we had a shot to win the race, and unfortunately now we don't. If it had stayed green, a bunch of guys would have ran out, and we would have still probably had a shot to win. But it is what it is. You know, Miller Lite Dodge has been really good all day. Kurt's done an awesome job. The pit crew's done a great job, and you know, we'll keep working on our mileage for next year and for all these rest of these races. But looks like hopefully it'll be a good points day. We'll get some more spots here and keep digging with the Miller Lite Dodge and get in the chase.
And you did expect more cars to pit with you when you came down pit road, right?
Yeah, I figured that, you know, everybody was way short at that point, and you know, I figured more would come, and then, you know, we were actually going to only do gas only, and because we figured more would come with us, and when they didn't, we put tires on, and you know, it'll give him an opportunity to get some spots back here, and we'll see where we end up. But either way, I think we'll have a little bit more of a cushion heading to Michigan.
Okay, Jerry. Pat will watch as a fan of Kurt Busch is trying to pick off a few more cars before the end of this race.
Thank you, Dave. Now, there are 4 races remaining after today in the race to the chase. Here are the points behind 12th position. Kurt Busch, as you just heard Pat say, we couldn't take that chance. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was just 7 points back coming into today.
I should tell you what, the points are really swapped up here. Let's take a look down at turn 1. You know how hard it is to get through turn 1 anyway. Right now there's rear end grease all over. That's not water, folks. It's not oil. It's rear end grease, which is a lot thicker, slimier, and that corner is going to be so slick when they go back to a restart. And they're doing the best job they can right now to clean it up with the speedy dry and stuff like that. But they're going to have a problem down there.
Yeah, turn 1 has been the hot spot all day long here at Watkins Glen International. It's where the hard right-hander is coming down the hill, Andy Petrie.
Yeah, and you see Tony Stewart here. He spins his car out by himself. Then you see these 2 cars get together, Jeff Green and Casey Mears. And then the very next lap, you see Jeff Green spin in the same corner. And here's Clint Boyer underneath Ryan Newman. Both of these guys go off in turn 1. And then the big one here with Montoya getting into the side of Kevin Harvick after contact with Martin Truex. And then all of this happening. Oh, Jeff Burton hits hard into Montoya.
And they are face-to-face, tempers flaring, pushing and shoving. Mike.
And just caught up with Felix Sabates, who was one of the first people to greet Kevin Harvick when he got back to his car. You talked to him. What'd you say?
Oh, no, I said, Kevin, I don't know if you saw the replay on TV or not, but the one car is the one that hit the 42 car. Kevin hadn't seen it before. So I think he realizes now that, Juan didn't wreck him. It was the one car that caused the whole accident.
And you were just up inside the NASCAR hall, or what was that conversation like?
Well, I just want a clarification. The red flag says you can't work in the car, and the 29 car was working in the car during the red flag. Just stopped them. But I just wanted to know if there was a new rule. The old rule said you can't work on the red flag.
And as far as I know, guys, that rule still exists.
Yeah, it looks like Felix was trying to get it enforced that they can't. That is the rule. You can't work on any of the race cars, no matter whether you're in the garage, pit area. When the red flag is out, the race is basically suspended.
These guys trying to get that car repaired. Jimmy Johnson had a couple of down weeks at Chicagoland and Indianapolis and had a good week last week. It's sort of been an up and down day here today. Jamie?
And it's all about salvaging those points and staying in contention there for the championship. And Lance McGrew joining me now. And I have to mention that Chad Knaus will be back next weekend. So you guys are up here keeping the ship together. What's going to happen these next 15 laps? What are you guys thinking, Lance?
I'm just hoping we finish where we're running right now. The car's been good all day. Jimmy's just been saving his stuff. And we're looking for a good finish at this. It's a good point save for us so far, knock on wood, and hopefully we finish it all.
Talk about the race, up and down. He even had some contact with Juan Pablo Montoya earlier.
Yeah, we weren't the only ones, I guess. So it's been kind of an exciting day. Hopefully the rest of it will be uneventful because we're ready to go home.
Have you guys had enough caution laps now? Are you guys good to the end?
Yeah, we're good to go. We're actually good for green, white checker, too.
Green, white checker, they're ready to go, and that's the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He's sitting 5th right now. Let's go to Alan.
With Denny Hamlin's crew chief Mike Ford, I guess your guy would get the nod right now if there was an award for running best but getting the least attention today, with Tony leading and spinning and Gordon spending time out front. How has your race been?
It's been very good so far. Denny's done a real good job taking care of his car. That's probably why we haven't been seen. Is he's been there, other than the pass through the grass there through the bus stop there. It's been pretty uneventful, but he's taken care of his car and had to take care of some fuel here towards the end of the race, but he hasn't run at 100%, and I'm sure we're going to see that shortly.
Does he have to take care of fuel anymore? And has he said anything on the radio about, I mean, he's got Tony Stewart behind him, who's been very fast all day.
Yeah, Tony's been fast all day, and under green, we're going to have to pick up the pace. Feel like we're better than what the 24 has been to this point. Tony's definitely good, but we're gonna run for a win here, and to do that, we're gonna have to run hard under green and save all the fuel we can under caution laps.
All right, Mike, thanks for the time. That is Denny Hamlin's crew chief, Mike Ford, and they're sitting in second right now under the red flag.
And Alan, Gene Need and Robbie Gordon have worked their way back up to 8th position right now after some trouble on pit road, Gene, that put him way in the back. Seems like he's had to pass cars twice today.
Yeah, we had to hit. Robbie has done a heck of a job all day, man. He had to pass a lot of cars, so we're really pleased with the job he's done. Our car's been pretty decent. Everybody worked real hard to get him back out and, up there, so everything's going all right.
2 left side tires on the last stop. Does he have enough grip, and then does he have enough fuel to get to the end?
Our car's been a little bit off today for some reason. We're just a little bit tight in the carousel, and we haven't been able to make it any better, so we just kind of have to live with that. But for the most part, it's pretty decent.
Okay, we're going to let Gene take a look at the replay of Robbie getting through that last wreck, and they've actually been watching him lounging on another broadcast. Here's where he was busy, Gene.
Yeah, we were actually probably pretty fortunate that the motor quit running there. That's what happened on the restart. The motor shut off for a second, and it probably, or hopefully, it helped us avoid that melee. Maybe we would have been in it if it had run. So we might have been lucky.
He has switched boxes back and forth. Does he think there's any problem with the engine right now?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping it just vapor locked. We rode around for a long time under caution. Hopefully, it just built up a lot of heat and vapor locked. We did switch ignitions, and hopefully we'll be all right.
All right, no damage to the 7. Gene going to call the shots from here, and really, that's just watching Robbie race from here on out. Jerry?
Thank you, Dave. Robbie Gordon, who wanted to have 2 cars in the race today, had put a car in for Marcus Ambrose. When rain canceled qualifying on Friday, Marcus will have to wait, and work is ongoing down in turn 1, where all the rear-end grease and gas and oil has come out of the car. Sports Center, by the way, coming up next at the conclusion of our coverage here of NASCAR Nextel Cup racing from Watkins Glen.
Jerry, I was thinking about the shoving they had down there between Juan Pablo Montoya and Kevin Harvick. NASCAR, they threw a lot of fines out, and I was talking last week about the fines here in NASCAR. The fines have approached close to $1 million this year, and I wonder where that money's going. It used to go in the point fund, and NASCAR assured me this morning that the money is still going in the point fund. And then I made a suggestion to them. They've got the new NASCAR Foundation, which is distributing this money to all these different foundations. Is what if we put that point fund penalty money that you're working with into the foundation, and let's give it away to charity. So that's under consideration right now. So it might happen. But for you fans wanting to know where the money goes, it's going to the point fund, and it might go somewhere else. You never know.
And these guys can win that money back, obviously, by being a part of the point fund. You were able to win some back over the years, that money that when guys get fined, and it goes back into the end of the year point fund. Under red flag here with 15 laps to go, and we've heard from a lot of crew chiefs. How about the 99 crew and Bob Osborne? Jamie?
Well, they have crept up into the top 4, and if you remember back to Sonoma, they were kind of in the same position, but you guys ran short on fuel those last few laps. So, Bob, what's it going to be this time?
We'll see how many caution laps we have after this red flag comes off the track, but yeah, I'm pretty confident we'll make it to the end here.
Before the caution, how close were you guys?
It's been touch and go here. I think the actual last caution though made it pretty safe for us.
So it's safe to say you guys are going to be pushing it to the end to get these last 15 laps in.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, Carl Edwards going to go for the push, sitting 4th when we get restarted. Let's go to Alan.
Back with Jeff Gordon's crew chief, Jeff Mendering. I asked you this once before, but now that we've had some more caution flag laps and a red flag, I got to ask you again. Are you there yet on fuel?
We can make it to the end of the race now. Green, white, checkered, we're pretty concerned about the way this race has been going so far. There's always an opportunity for that. So yeah, we're a little nervous about that part of it.
And as far as what Jeff has been saying on the radio, he knows he's got Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, and the others behind him. Has he made any comparison shopping to you there on the radio?
No, not a whole lot. We're obviously concerned a little bit about him down here. He hasn't really said a whole lot. We've got a pretty good car today. We're getting through the S is really good. Actually, we're pretty good everywhere on the track. So yeah, we're feeling pretty confident right now.
And you've had a little difficulty with Jeff's radio transmissions back to you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think he got some of his drink on the microphone there, and we're having a little bit of a hard time understanding him, but it's getting through.
All right, Jeff, thanks for the time. It's been that way with the radio transmission since very early on in the race. Jeff apparently spilled a little drink out of his drink bottle into the radio element, the microphone element built inside his helmet. And so his transmissions to the pits have been a little bit garbled all day, but he has been able to understand them for instructions as to when to pit and that kind of thing.
Back in Watkins Glen, 15 laps to go here and under a red flag, and these drivers have been sitting here now for quite a while. And Rusty, how does that impact you in the car seat? I mean, you sitting there in the seat, you got your game face on, you're ready to race for the final 15 laps, and now you have to sit there and think about what could happen.
Well, Jerry, what it's done right now is let these guys calm down. The drivers are all confused what's going on. They've calmed down. They collected their thoughts, thinking about where they can make the pass. Are they going to make the pass in the inner loop? They're going to make it coming off of turn 11. And one thing they're going to be really careful with now going into turn 1, there's a lot of oil and grease down there that I don't think NASCAR's got cleaned up as much as they want.
And that's been a hot spot all day long, is that turn 1, so these guys have to be careful through there. The other thing is these guys were probably hoping that a lot of guys on pit road were hoping for the caution to stay out and not the red flag, so they could get some more of these laps run, so they could get a lot of mileage while they're running slow. And it's still going to be touch and go for some of these guys on fuel, but the way this race has been going, well, I say we can expect more caution laps.
Robbie Gordon, one of the guys, has made his way back. We talk about making it back all the way from 19th spot. Tony Stewart now sits in 3rd position. These guys should be okay on fuel, providing that we don't go green, white, and checkered. They have given the command to refire the cars. And let's head down to our pit studio with Susie Colbert and Brad Doherty.
Now, we knew that fuel was going to play a major part in this, and now we've heard from Jeff Gordon's crew chief that likely then they can make it all the way. So who do you like of these top 3 right now? Gordon, Hamlin, Stewart.
Well, the top guys, I think that Denny Hamlin has something for these guys. I heard him say, his crew chief say that they haven't run 100% all day. If that's true, he's really going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I'm also looking at Robbie Gordon and Ron Fellows. These two guys who are road race specialists have snuck and crept into that top 10, and they could be a handful once they get down to about 5 laps to go.
You know, there's a couple things working here as they are back under caution once again. You've got the road racers who do so well here, Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, and the drivers who have done so well in the COT, Jeff Gordon and really Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. But I think it's going to be a great mix-up here. Don't forget, Tony Stewart's up there. He's been fast all day. This is going to be a great finish. I just hope we can get through it without any more cautions.
And now that they've gone from red to yellow, now teams can go back to work on the cars, and that means a lot for Kevin Harvick's team.
Yeah, he got halted under the red flag. You're not supposed to work on your car. So now, as you see guys now, they're starting to thrash around and hopefully get him back out pretty quickly, and he can save some of those really valuable points that are going to, he's going to need going into the chase.
Yeah, he came in 9th in the chase. Right now he still sits in 9, but they need to get him back on the track, Doc.
Thank you, Susie. Trying to get his car repaired. The cars are moving once again. Talking about some of the guys who have made moves here today. Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Now remember at Infineon, he started 17th, came all the way and got a great top 5 finish. He started 16th today and has now moved his way up into 9th position. So a good run for Greg Biffle, who has never had a lot of luck here. His best finish at Watkins Glen in 4 trips has been 30th. Let's check in the Kyle Busch pits. Alan?
Yeah, Doc, I just want to tell the story of Kyle Busch's day because he's back up in 15th place now. Remember back at lap 39, he got bumped by Carl Edwards and spun, fell back to 33rd place from 10th at that point after pitting for tires that were flat spotted in the spin. Then they stopped again to top off the fuel at lap 59, so Kyle has made 2 more pit stops than anyone else today. Yet he's running 15th and could get a top 10 out of this thing. That's pretty big for a guy who comes into the race as one of those bubble guys in the championship. Kyle 8th in points coming into the day, just 219 ahead of the 13th place driver. So if they can salvage a top 10 out of this after pitting twice more than anyone else, that's pretty big.
That's very good, and right in front of him, you look at the cars that are right in front of the Kyle Busch. Ricky Rudd, a 2-time winner here, having that great run at Pocono last week. He was the highest finishing Ford for Robert Yates, and in front of him is the 6 car, David Reagan, a first ever rookie, first time here. Reagan, it was in the gravel pits early on, but a really good run, Mike, for the 88 car of Rudd.
And really no surprise considering how good Ricky Rudd has been over the course of his career on road courses. But he got a little bit of a help from a veteran road course racer earlier this weekend. Mark Goosens was helping shake down Ricky Rudd teammate car of David Gilliland in the weekend. And, well, they learned something they did not know, something about their gearbox. And so the 88 team went to work on their car this morning, changed out the gearbox. And also Goosens worked a little bit with Ricky Rudd with his shifting points. And it may have helped. Right now they're holding tight with a top 15 car, but you know Ricky Rudd wants more.
Well, guys, right now the thing I'm concerned about is the entrance of turn 1 with all that oil and grease down there. As we're watching David Gilling in the 38, he's had a pretty clean day, guys. But number 1, when they get down to the turn 1 with all that grease, I don't think this Framin and Bama going into turn 1 is over yet, Andy.
I'm afraid it's not over either. This 96 car, Ron Fellows, has had a pretty solid race too. And Dave Burns, can you tell us a little more about the 96 team?
Well, yeah, and Andy, the thing that got them behind earlier was a speeding penalty on pit road. He was too fast entering pit road. The team, of course, always wonders about that, and NASCAR supplies them with the information that tells them where they were speeding. It was the first leg coming down pit road, and even though Ron was with other cars, the average speed across that line, across that distance, he was faster than the pit road speed plus 5 miles per hour, and that is speeding. So that got him behind. They made their way back up. They just told Ron, you're good on fuel. And for a road course ace like him, that means go get him, get what you can. They're 10th right now.
Speaking of getting what you can, Robbie Gordon now being shown in the 9th position. There's Robbie in the 7 car. Remember, after what happened in Montreal last week and the $35,000 fine, he is on probation through December 31st, so he can't really do a lot of bumping and framming and bamming like you were talking about, Rusty.
One thing about Robbie Gordon, we know he's really aggressive behind the wheel, especially when you get late in the race with 14 to go now. He can look ahead of him. He sees Biffle, he sees Kentis, he sees Johnson. He sees a lot of positions he can pick up, and I'll guarantee you, he's getting wound up to go run him down right now.
He's going to have to watch his P's and Q's, though. You're on probation. You can't get away with much here.
Pace car bringing him down. It'll be 13 laps to go when they come with a green flag. We've already had contact in turn 1 off and on time and time again today. 35 cars are on the lead lap. Remember, you make a mistake, you can go from first to worst here. Can Jeff Gordon hang on and get his 5th win at Watkins Glen? We've been told that Denny Hamlin has been riding, has got a real good race car. You know that Tony Stewart's not going to wait on anybody. What about Carl Edwards back there in 4th spot? We're going to find out because the pace car is pulling away, and Jeff Gordon is going to bring him down to the green flag with just 13 laps to go. Contact in turn 1. One car goes around, gets it headed in the right direction, and they all got through somehow.
That corner had to be slick. They slid all around under. Bobby Labonte was the first guy sliding around, but they got all through somehow. Everybody got pointed in the same direction. I don't know how that happened. Down in the inner loop here, almost a carbon copy of what happened to Denny Hamlin and Stewart earlier, but this time they didn't make it through the grass. They're still on the track.
And no holding back here.
Hamlin opts for no pass in the grass. Can he lean on him coming off the corner?
Denny's poking on his rear bumper, and Stewart bounces off his teammate. Denny Hamlin down in the corner. Stewart's going to try to make a pass on the outside, a tough part to get around the racetrack there.
If he can hold this position, he'll have the inside in the next turn.
Side by side for 2nd spot. Carl Edwards trying to make it a 3-car battle. We're told the 29 Kevin Harvick back on the racetrack, and just a moment ago the 88 of Ricky Rudd has pulled off. But here comes Tony Stewart on the inside.
And Stewart's trying to get Edwards off his bumper, so it's making him really loose. Aerodynamically making him very loose getting at the corner. And now he shook him a little bit, and he's setting sail now on Jeff Gordon.
Carl Edwards taking advantage of that opening to get by Denny Hamlin.
And look who's sneaking up in 5th spot. Jimmy Johnson having a smooth run today. That's exactly what he needed. He's had a lot of bad luck in the last 4 or 5 races. And Robbie Gordon, take a look at him. He's got past Matt Kentis. And the 96 car, Ron Fellows, running them down on the inside.
Ron Fellows, the road racing expert, trying to get up there. He's finished 2nd twice at Watkins Glen. He did it all in the late laps. He's got 12 laps to get there.
Denny Hamlin is just stalking this 99 car. He got by. He just used that opening. The 99 used that opening of Tony Stewart to go by Denny. I think Denny's got a little better car.
Yeah, I think he does too. And he's had a really good car up there against Stewart and against Jeff Gordon, but he just couldn't get away. Those guys are so bunched up. They were all got real loose and sliding around. And that enabled Jeff Gordon to get gone. But now Tony Stewart's got him in his gun sights.
If you just joined our coverage, back on lap 44, Tony Stewart was the leader, and right there, his car went sailing off into turn 1. He got the car righted, but he went all the way back to 19th position. He has driven from 19th all the way to 2nd here with 11 laps to go.
That very last lap, Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart had almost identical lap times. Neither one of them can get away from each other. They're both bumper to bumper now.
Borset in the 21 car making a move now. He's ahead of the 38 of David Gilliland and running down Ryan Newman.
Hamlin in the grass in the inner loop on the inside. Edwards trying to get there in the 48 car. Is also there Jimmy Johnson. And by the way, you Juan Pablo Montoya fans, the 42 car is back on the racetrack. They have gotten it repaired, and he is back out in action.
Well, after they came to that inner loop, it looks like Denny Hamlin picked the position up on Carl Edwards getting through the inner loop. A lot of action happening there.
Looks like Denny Hamlin's got this move perfected. Caution's out.
Zero by one. Caution's out.
Let's take a look at this replay. Denny gets through there, gets all sideways and crazy, bounces around through the grass, up over the ripple strips, staying in the throttle and still digging. Now that was one crazy way of looking for a pass.
That's a pretty aggressive move. The 00 not so lucky though, stuck in the gravel pit.
P.J. Jones driving for David Rudeman, Michael Waltrip Racing. And here comes help. I'm not sure these guys are going to be able to, they're going to raise the hood to help them pull him out. Here's the what's left of the front of Kevin Harvick Chevrolet.
And boy, why do you go out with only 10 laps to go? He's got to get those points. He's trying to hold on all he can possibly hold on. 42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya. He's back on the racetrack also right now.
If they can run a few more laps, they can get some spots here and maybe pick up a few points.
Yeah, it's all about points, and they got to get back on the racetrack. They got to get going. And that's the key thing right now, is just get all you possibly can. Let's take a look at a replay in the 00, getting in the gravel, see what happened here. Enter the inner loop, Andy. Gets sideways, gets punted from Kurt Busch.
Yeah, gets a little help for the 2 car.
Well, I tell you, that is not where you want to get stuck, because now he's got to get a record to pull him out. You saw PJ fire the motor up. He might as well just turn that baby back off, because all he's doing is just blowing gravel out those tailpipes now.
That gravel works great for keeping these cars out of the guardrail, but it sure is bad when you get stuck in it.
Caution for the 8th time of day, 10 laps to go, and boy, what excitement we've had here in Watkins Glen. 10 caution flags. Jeff Gordon has led, by the way, 3 times for 43 laps. There you see finally P.J. Jones gets it fired and out of the gravel.
Jerry, I've been studying this race. Guys, this car tomorrow, this baby handles so bad and brakes so bad on a road course that it puts them on one great race. They're sliding all over the place, framming and bamming, hitting each other, bouncing through the curbs, through the gravel traps, through the grass. And it doesn't tear the car up. The splitter in the front is hanging on.
It's like a tank. You can't hurt it, I don't think. I think that's great for the fact that we saw what happened with Ryan Newman early on, like a snow plow in the front of that car, coming through all the gravel, and they just dusted the gravel off and put him back on the racetrack.
This car has really proven to be very durable. I mean, from every aspect, the way the bumpers hold up, the splitters held up well. You can make contact and not really hurt the car much. The other car seems like if you just touch somebody and mess up a fender, it can slow you down.
Juan Pablo Montoya back on the racetrack, being shown 6 laps down, Jamie, in 38th position. Juan Pablo showing 6 laps down. Should say he's now showing us off the track. Kevin Harvick is showing us 6 lap down in 37th position. And remember, Juan Pablo was trying to set a NASCAR record, winning 3 road courses in the same year. Not going to happen here today. Jeff Gordon trying to hang on. 9 laps to go. Can he hold off Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin? Welcome back to Watkins Glen. The final laps coming your way here for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. Sports Center coming up next. We'll update all the happenings around the sports world if we complete what has been somewhat of a slugfest here for NASCAR's 22nd stop of the year. Next week, the NASCAR Nextel Cup schedule, we head to Michigan for NASCAR Busch Series action. The Carfax 250 at Michigan on Saturday. Green flag at 1 o'clock Eastern time. NASCAR Nextel Cup action next Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN and ESPN HD. Well, Jeff Gordon is our leader. Tony Stewart runs in 2nd spot. Now, Tony Stewart's teammate, Denny Hamlin, is being shown back in 3rd position. Let's listen into their radio.
I should have just knocked the 24 out of the way. 10-4, that's what I thought. But did what you did. Man, I wish I had to do it all over again. you do right here.
Let's take a replay. I'm going to take a look at the replay, see what happened, where he's talking about. He gets a nose on the inner loop coming at him right there, really eating him up. He's going to leave the inner loop here, and as he exits, got his front end right on the bumper of Gordon in turn 9 there. Take a look at that right there. Had him got his gun sights, and he said, I should have knocked you out of the way. But guess what, Denny? NASCAR heard just what you said, and if you would have done that, you'd have got a rough driving penalty. That would have brought you down pit road.
Here's a look at our Ford lap leaders today. After 81 of 90 laps, Jeff Gordon has led the bulk of the afternoon, led 3 times for 44 laps. Tony Stewart has led twice for 18 laps. Carpentier, first ever Nextel Cup start, has led 7 laps. McMurray 6, Bobby Labonte 4, and Jeremy Mayfield has led 2 laps today. Dale Earnhardt Jr., by the way, has lost an engine. He will finish 42nd today. And Kurt Busch, who was 12th in the point standings, and the 2 car is being shown in 18th position. Ryan Newman, who was 14th in the race to the chase, coming in, being shown in 14th spot. Green flag waves. It's going to be a shootout these final 8 laps. Here comes Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards right behind him as they head for turn 1.
Carl Edwards has been getting great restarts. Jumped up beside Denny Hamlin here.
Hamlin just can't seem to shake Edwards. There's all heck's breaking loose behind him. They're all over the place right now. Denny Hamlin got Edwards through the inner loop, approaching it last time. Let's see if he can do it again. A lot of speed down that back straightaway, close to 170 miles an hour. And Robbie Gordon, he's coming in the picture too, hunting down the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson.
Gordon, now Stewart is there. This is where they had where there was nearly contact a couple laps ago between Gordon and Stewart's teammate Denny Hamlin.
Now the tempting part for Tony Stewart is to try to outbrake Gordon getting into the corner, but he wheel hopped last time and slid off the course, so he's got to be a little careful in this move. But he knows he's got to do it, probably on the entrance of turn 1 if he's going to pass him.
This is 2 great road racers going at it.
Winningest road course driver actively in NASCAR history, Jeff Gordon, a 9-time winner in road courses. 4 of them have come right here at Watkins Glen, but Tony Stewart's won 3 of the last 5. And Stewart can't get there this time in turn 1.
Looked like Jeff Gordon was able to drive down in that corner a lot deeper than Tony Stewart. Like Tony's brakes may not be as good now as they were.
Well, we haven't heard Jeff Gordon complain at all about handling our brakes or anything, and we know that Tony Stewart had a problem with just wheel hopping. We don't think that Stewart's got a brake problem, but he just wheel hopped that one time that made us think that he was starting to have a problem.
Jeff Gordon definitely put some distance on him getting into that corner.
You know, you get that clean air, Andy. We talk about that all year long, about how the front of these cars like that downforce. They're definitely faster when they're in the front.
Carl Edwards is running these guys down.
Let's ride along with our Wrangler telemetry here on Tony Stewart. Take a look at the speeds, the RPMs, and when he might or might not touch that brake pedal. Alan?
And just to follow up on what Rusty was saying there a minute ago, Doc, Tony Stewart has not complained about his car all day. He's had one of the best cars on the racetrack all day. What they've needed was green flag laps to try and pass these guys that are in front of him as they continue to try and recover from that spin.
Well, and he's done an incredible job getting himself back up where he's got the position now, 2nd place, but he better start looking at his rearview mirror because Carl Edwards is not letting any of these fellas have any breathing room at all. In fact, the last time by, Carl Edwards had the fastest lap time ahead of Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart.
Looks like Tony Stewart got into turn 1 a little better that time. He's able to stay closer to Jeff Gordon up this straightaway. It might set up a pass right here getting into this inner loop.
You just got to believe if Tony Stewart sets up a pass with Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards is going to be right on both of their bumper right then when that happens.
42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya has gone back to the garage and officially retired, so he will be logged in at 39th as his finishing spot today. Tony Stewart
gets off in the grass just a little bit right there, trying to use up the racetrack right there and just used a little too much.
A couple of road racing experts, the 7 and 96, Robbie Gordon and Fellows, trying to go out of there for position. That would be for the 6th spot. Ron Fellows, 3-time winner in the NASCAR Busch Series here, 2-time runner-up in Cup. These guys know what to do when it comes to road course racing.
Well, those guys are really fast. You're exactly right, Jerry, but I'm watching their lap times. They're about 3/10, oh my gosh, that time 5/10 of a second off of Jeff Gordon, and Gordon just laid down a blistering lap around the racetrack of a 73.86 compared to the rest of them. Just gets past Robbie Gordon now. Fellows did. Good clean pass coming at the S's.
Ron Fellows had said it's important to hang on to your brakes. That's how he finished second twice here in Nextel Cup competition. And we've got a car that is David Gilliland. The 38 car has spun around and is headed backwards in the wrong direction. No yellow flag, and we will stay green with 5 laps to go.
Tony Stewart just can't seem to get to the bumper. Jeff Gordon right now. Gordon's car is really flying at the moment. That last lap, Andy, was just incredibly fast that Gordon laid down.
Jeff Gordon is very fast, but it makes me wonder if Tony Stewart didn't have to use up too much car to get back after he spun the car off the track. It came out 19th. He had to really drive up through the pack and use a lot of car to get here to this position. So it makes me wonder if he hadn't used up a little bit of this car.
David Reagan off in the gravel as well, trying to just keep the throttle wide open and burn his way out of there to kind of keep from having a caution flag. There he goes. Good job, David, to get it back out.
Go ahead, nobody coming.
That's his second visit to the gravel trap today. He did that earlier in the race. Tony Stewart able to make up a little ground on this lap.
Well, these guys are going to start approaching turn 10 where Reagan put gravel all over the racetrack. When they get there, there's going to be a lot of debris on the racetrack, so it could puncture a tire, could alter the handling. I'm sure the spotters have, look at that, all over the place, guys. This gravel,
like little marbles all through the turn.
Gotta look out for dirt on the racetrack coming to the left-hander here, 6.
And the green flag's still out. Drivers have been warned there's debris out there, and Stewart and everybody makes it by, no problems whatsoever. But boy, you got to be careful because, Andy, you know as well as I do, that'll blow a tire out.
Yeah, I would worry about blowing a tire and maybe making the car just slip right through there and actually wind up in the gravel trap, themselves.
3 laps to go at Watkins Glen as they flash beneath the start-finish line. Jeff Gordon trying to win here for the first time since 2001.
Jeff Gordon's laying down some of the fastest laps of the race right here.
In practice here, the last couple of days, he has been slow, not where he wanted to be. They've been changing setups in that car, shocks, springs, doing everything to get to his liking, and they hit on it because he's been fast all day long. If he wins this race, it's not because he's lucky, but it's because he was good and they had a great car all day.
Sports Center coming up next at the conclusion of these 3 laps here. Great action as Gordon trying to hold off Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, and Denny Hamlin. Kurt Busch in the 2 car right behind Boris Said. That is for position. That is for the 13th spot, 12th spot.
Looks like these guys have been duking it out. You see some damage on the front end of the 2 car of Kurt Busch. He finally gets by Boris Said.
And you can tell Kurt's racing for a championship, too. He's really getting aggressive with it. You see the 2 car, the middle light car, the right front headlight door tore up, and he just stuck his hand out the window and told Boris, thanks a lot. Dave, you got more?
Rusty just driving hard for Kurt Busch. 2 restarts ago, he restarted 22nd. On this restart, he restarted 15th. He is picking him off, and that's what he had to do.
He's got a fast car.
And Jeff Gordon has spun around with 2 laps to go, the leader.
Keep going, keep going. Come on. Come on. Keep digging. Keep digging hard. Right there, come on.
Unbelievable. Turn 1 again. All day long, guys, we've had problem in turn 1. And the leader feeling the pressure from Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart did it earlier in the race and was able to make up for it later. Now here Carl Edwards all over Tony Stewart.
All over Tony Stewart at the inner loop. They're coming down for the white flag this time. Stewart trying to get his 4th win here. Carl Edwards trying to win for the first time at Watkins Glen.
You got to believe when Stewart saw Jeff Gordon spin, he slowed and got the 99 of Carl Edwards right on his bumper. And now Tony's trying to shake him loose, get away from him. Let's take a look at this replay.
Jeff Gordon's been able to outbrake Tony Stewart into this corner every lap. He just tried just a little too hard right here.
Guys, it appears another classic case of wheel hopping getting at the corner. You see the rear end jump around, wheel hop again. felt that pressure from Stewart. You just know he did.
White flag for Tony Stewart, trying to pick up his 3rd win in 2007, and his 4th win here at Watkins Glen. Can he hold off the charging 99 of Carl Edwards, who, by the way, is driving with an injured thumb, a previously dislocated thumb, and a bandage, trying to shift gears and hang on to that steering wheel?
Jerry, he just cleared the most critical part on the racetrack, turn 1. That has ate everybody's lunch today. He's just got to get through this inner loop clean. Let's watch him get through here. Nice, smooth turns, not aggressive. You see Carl Edwards' left front tire in the air. He's driving hard. And Andy in turn 9 coming to 10. About got this thing home.
Carl's not giving up, though. He's just trying as hard as he can to get right to the bumper of the 20 car, Tony Stewart.
Carl's got 2 more shots, the entry at 10 and the entry at turn 11 to catch him.
And Carl goes off the racetrack.
Edwards off in the gravel. Here comes Tony Stewart out of turn 11. And congratulations to Team Chevy driver Tony Stewart, winner of the Nextel Cup at Watkins Glen.
Denny Hamlin's teammate comes in 2nd.
And take a look at Jimmy Johnson, brings it home 3rd with Ron Fellows, and Robbie Gordon bringing in the 5th spot. And you got to hand it to Carl Edwards. He went for it. He went for the victory going into 10.
And he still comes home with a top 10 finish. He cleared the gravel trap, came home 8th.
Now, I guarantee you never lifted when he was going through the gravel. I have never seen a race like this in a long time. This is the wildest, most exciting race I've ever seen at Watkins Glen in a car tomorrow.
Young in there all day.
I love road racing.
Crazy.
Tony Stewart picks up his 3rd win in the last 4 races after a 20-race winless streak dating back to last fall. He wins at Chicagoland and Indianapolis in back-to-back weeks, and now picks up a win here at Watkins Glen. Last turn here, turn 10 on the final lap.
You see a bunch of dust. Somebody kicked up in this corner right ahead of these guys, and Carl just drove it as hard as he could in there and just couldn't stick.
Hey, it's the last corner, guys. You got to go for it. He thought that maybe he could make something happen, but he sailed it in there, and he was in trouble when he got to the corner with too fast. But Jamie, what about that?
That was quite a finish. Greg Zippadelli, I want to know what you have to say. You haven't changed the expression on your face. What were your thoughts when you saw your guy right here, Jeff Gordon, spun right in front of him to take the lead and to win?
That's pretty much what happened to us to give the lead up to the 24. So, you know, sometimes they say it takes full circle. So just proud of everybody. You know, we got ourselves behind, and everybody did a good job. Tony stayed focused, and, you know, we were trying to salvage a good finish out of it. We got ourselves in position to win, and that's what it takes now. Them 10 points getting us into the chase. That's what we need.
How did you guys rebound from those early issues? Was your car just that good?
We had a really, really good race car, and you know, we wheel hopped, and I think it kind of screwed our timing up, his timing up getting into 1 there the rest of the day. But he did a really good job. It just thing goes up through the S is unbelievable, and he just knows how to get it up through there.
Greg Zippadelli, Tony Stewart go to victory lane for the 3rd time. Doc?
Tony Stewart waving to the fans as he goes by. What an incredible finish here at Watkins Glen. 2 laps to go, and the leader, Jeff Gordon, goes to what has been the trouble spot all day long, and the car goes around. Our Crown Royal crowning moment of the day. Watch this with 2 laps to go. Turn 1, Jeff Gordon goes off backwards, and Tony Stewart assumes the lead. And it is Stewart who takes the checkered flag. His 3rd win of 2007, his 4th career win at historic Watkins Glen International. Point standings now after 22 of 36 races, just 4 remaining in the race to the chase. Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin. There's a celebration. Tony Stewart gains a spot up to 4th overall. Carl Edwards also gains a spot. Big loser Jeff Burton, who came in here 4th today. And you see down in 12th position, Kurt Busch by 96 points over Ryan Newman. Dale Earnhardt Jr. at engine failure. He is now 100 points back in 14th position. Let's go to Mike Massaro.
And Jeff Gordon just climbed from his car walking down pit road. Obviously a heartbreaking situation. What happened?
Just driving hard, you know, just overdrove it into 1. Pretty much same thing that happened to Tony earlier. You know, we're just right on the edge there, and the braking zone getting into one, and just stupid. You know, I mean, I know I had to push. Tony was really good, and I wanted that win really bad. And I know points don't mean anything, so I pushed, and I pushed too far.
Well, guys, not much more you can say. Obviously, a very disappointed Jeff Gordon.
You got to hand it to him, guys. He went for it.
It's just win or lose for him and his team.
Let's go to Alan Bestwick,
where Tony Stewart is getting unbuckled in victory lane and getting ready to get out of the car. Getting word from his car chief, Jason Shapiro, before he climbs from the machine and begins the victory celebration. Here he comes. Tony, congratulations. Third win in 4 races. Tell me about the last part of the race. First, you're behind Jeff Gordon, then Carl Edwards is behind you. How did you see it all unfold?
I saw Jeff lose it the same way I lost it. It's, you know, it was both of ours to lose today. I mean, Jeff and I by far had the best 2 cars, and I just made a mistake and wheel hopped it, you know, was the biggest thing. So just lost it that way, and then just, you know, had to keep fighting back. I mean, we had to do the hardest job of anybody today, fighting back through there, but we just had to keep the pressure on Jeff and hope he made a mistake, and that's what happened.
Was there ever a point after you recovered from the spin and the laps began running out and you weren't in the lead that you wondered if you could get to the lead?
I tell you, this thing was terrible 10 deep in traffic. I mean, the further forward you got, the better it was, but the Lord was with us today on this one. I mean, I gave it away and I got it back the same way I lost it. So, you know, the further forward we got, the better off we were. I didn't want those cautions late. I mean, I wanted to run a long green flag run. Felt like we could run them down if we had a shot at it, but Jeff was tough. I mean, Jeff was very strong, and Carl caught me off guard even at the end there. I mean, I had my spotter tell me about Blaney going up the hill and lost too much momentum, gave Carl too big a run, but thing was awesome the last lap.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Tony Stewart has won at Watkins Glen today.
Congratulations to Tony Stewart, picking up his 3rd win of the year and his 4th career win at historic Watkins Glen International Raceway. We invite you to join us next week. The NASCAR Traveling Show, Busch and Cup, goes to Michigan International Speedway. Tony Stewart in victory lane. Now let's go back to Sports Center.